Okay. So I want to talk about, let's talk about trauma today. So trauma, what's the real impact of trauma? Okay. Yeah. So again, we have this simple diagram, right? So we got an ear, nose, eye. Then we have our body. Then we have our thought. So external stimulus comes in, right? Through our five senses. Okay. And then all these combined, thought is actually insight. Okay. Goes into our brain system. So we got the reptilian brain that based on reflex, which is a database or library, generate commands. Then goes into our limbic brain based on triggers, okay, generate emotions. And all the triggers have at least three properties. They are protective, they are persistent, and they are global. Global just means if my dad installed these triggers because he scolded me or beat me up because I refused to play piano. Right? So when I grow up, anything or anybody that has the similar attribute as my dad, for example, the same height, similar voice, wear the same kind of cologne, okay, is an authority figure, has control over me, right, can determine whether I get ice cream or not, get paid or not, right, anything. It represents my dad. This trigger will get triggered. Then we have this beautiful midbrain that has no database. Okay? The midbrain just connects directly to our heart. Okay? And out comes clarity or resonance, right? Or just like, oh gosh, just a sense of openness. Okay? Then it gets into our left and right brain. It's based on prior knowledge, whether it's cultural, education, passing down from families, friends, books, whatever, okay, political parties, and it creates judgment. And all the outcome affects our channels and impact our thought and impact our body. So this is kind of a functional diagram. And midbrain, in my opinion, actually sits in between conscious and subconscious mind. Where conscious account for maybe 5%. I think it's far less. And the other 95 is basically subconscious. Okay. So what does trauma do to the system? Okay. And I think it's very important for us to have an idea of what exactly, why do people suffer 80 years from what happened? Okay. The person that caused the trauma is long gone. Long gone. What happened? Why is this person still in trauma? Okay. So I think I shared the story, right? Like, 87-year-old lady, came from Italy visiting her daughter and came to my mom's place. She was on the table. The heating came on. Okay. her eyes grow big, her body goes like this. He's like, what's that sound? Right? And her daughter was like, oh, it's the heating system. The heater came on. And her mom said, it sounds exactly like the bomber she experienced when she was 7. Okay, that was World War II, 80 years ago.
Yeah.
It's still there.
It's still there.
Okay.
It's still relevant.
So to me, that's I don't want to go into other kind of trauma, but that's what trauma does. Okay? Any traumatic event come into our system through our 5 senses, right? Go through our reptilian brain, this kind of goes up, okay? Goes through our brain system, right? And if it's traumatic enough, we need protection, and it's in the form of triggers. And triggers generate emotions. Emotion enable motion. Okay? I hear this, right? I generate this huge fear of emotions, right? And the next thing I know, I'm running for, the bomb shelter.
Right.
It saves my life, right? It's very, very critical for my survival, right? But these triggers have no expiration. They are persistent. So 80 years later, I still have it. Exactly the same. Right? So in my opinion, this is what I see, okay? So trauma itself is not long-lasting, but the triggers are long-lasting. Right?
Yes.
So, the person is long gone, right? And the traumatic event is long gone. The question is, are we safe now, right? And at the conscious level, we say, yeah, I'm fine now. Nobody's hurting me now, right? But I'm still protecting myself from being hurt. To me, that is the real impact of trauma. So let's say consciously I feel, yeah, I'm safe, okay? I'm in my house, right? All the windows have bars. I have 2 sets of security systems. I got enough weapons for whatever, right? I am safe, but deep inside, there's no safety.
There's no safety. Yeah.
This is classic PTSD.
Yeah. Right.
Right? PTSD is, of course I'm safe. How come I don't feel safe? So this is disharmony in a person. And the disharmony creates so much conflict, right? Then there's a loop, then it becomes a looping thing, right? We all experience this thing that kind of can't sleep at night, and the thoughts just keep coming and coming and coming, and can't stop it. Why? Because at the event, at the trauma, right? So trauma happens, let's say right here, when we're 6 years old, for example, right? Now I am 66, right? And I know I'm safe, but I don't feel safe. Because this trigger continues to try to protect me. Okay? So there's a concept called now, right? The power of now, the power of now, the power of now, right? It's almost like we have to do something right here when this happens, right? Let's spend a moment to talk about how long is now. Okay? Is it 1 second? 100 years? Or 10 billion lifetimes? Okay? Until this is resolved, until these triggers are resolved, we're still in the now. Because that lady, 7-year-old, went through the bombing. She's still living because she still has that trigger. The trigger is still part of her. That protective trigger is still part of her. So she still lives in the now. Right? Okay? So we spend spend lifetimes, right? We spend a long time, right? A lot of resource try to heal ourselves, right? So healing implies what? Healing implies that something is broken, right? And so we try to put like my heart is broken, right? Right. It's like I had a trauma. As a result, my heart is broken. Right? So we try to morning. So we try so hard to heal our broken heart. Right? To me, this doesn't work. It feels like our heart is broken, but our heart is always golden. Right? Hey guys. Hello. Yeah. Great, wonderful. So the goal is to say, so in my clinic, this is what we do. Okay, well, at least I, one of my values is to serve people with trauma. Because trauma affects way too many people. Okay? When one person has trauma, okay, there's a huge amount of cost. Okay, for the entire family, for the entire circle of friends, okay, and you grow from there. It propagates from generation to generation. There's no end. Why? Because these triggers, it's not just confined to one person. Okay. So the key really is, instead of saying like my heart is broken because of the trauma, because of the traumatic event. Right? We say, is my heart really, really broken? Okay? So in my clinic, there's a guiding principle that everyone's heart is golden, always golden. You cannot break a heart. But we feel the heart is broken, so we're trying to protect it, right? And because we think our heart is broken, that's why we spend, the entire life at least trying to heal or find somebody to heal us. Right? But if we say, you know what? Let me change that because I suffer enough. Okay? I don't want this sense of keep looking, and I find no answer. Okay? I go to a place that say, oh, this person is great. You gotta go see this person. Okay? This person can bless you, can do this, can reset you, or whatever, right? So we continue to try to do this, but still we're not finding the real answer. So let's try to put our heart in the category of revealing, because it's always golden. So we go from this healing mentality to this revealing mentality. In our life, it will never be the same. Because we can right now to say, I have a purpose, I connect to loving kindness, and through this I connect to my mom's heart of gold. And I can make a choice right now to say, Mom, you know what? I love you unconditionally. Right now. There's nothing stopping us from doing that at all. The only thing that can stop us is our sense of injustice, of all the things that Mom had done to me long time ago, when we were 6. Okay? So to me, there's words and behaviors. Okay? And then there's heart of gold. If today we're treating others with words and behaviors they don't accept, because we have these triggers that in the subconscious that makes us, we feel like I have no control. I'm yelling at my kids, I'm yelling at my spouse, I'm yelling at people I care about, right? And then I regret. I'm doing this again. You know, I'm trying to do the right thing again, but you know, every time I do this, it feels like continue to hurt the people I love the most. Okay? Why? Because we're trying to do the right thing right here. We're not doing what's most empowering at the moment. We're connecting to people's behavior and words, and we want to correct it so much. It feels like we have absolutely no control of what we do, right? Why? Because we have these triggers in the subconscious. Okay. So let me go back to this diagram, if you guys don't mind. Okay. So this is a functional diagram of who we are, okay, as a person. And I think, in my opinion, this applies to everybody. Okay. Gender, race, you know, age, you name it. And I call this MCA. It stands for Mindfully Centered Approach 2024. This diagram actually came to me earlier this year. Okay. So we have 5 senses: ear, you know, eye, ears, nose, tongue, body. Okay, body, physical sensation. Okay, that receive external stimulus, other people's words, behaviors, violence, you name it. Okay, so this is how we receive inputs from outside, from people, from dogs, from trees, from the universe. Okay? And we have this internal thing what we call thought. Okay? This is how we see the world, and you know, this is. So all these things combined will feed into our brain system. Okay? Our brain starts with the most primitive brain called reptilian brain. So this is the reflex brain. Okay? If a fly is flying, you know, close to my eyes, I will actually blink. Okay? Somebody pushes my forehead, I will actually do it. I hit myself on the knee, it's going to kick. Okay? So these are reflex, right? Reflex can also be learned, right? So if we learn, for example, we're doing the rope, right? That's actually training our reflex. It's actually a physical training, right? Or if we do dance or we do martial art, it's all training our reflex. So reflex is something that can be acquired over time, right? Can be improved. Balance is a reflex, okay? And reptilian brain, based on the reflex, generate commands. Okay, if I'm driving and I'm going to hit a tree, my reptilian brain is going to issue a lot of commands to say, okay, raise your hands, both of your hands, cover your face, so you don't hit into the windshield. Okay? Well, let's say I did not do it because I didn't have time, right? Then what happens is I smash my face into the windshield. Then all my life, these 2 hands want to do something. These 2 hands will be rigid, okay? Because the reptilian brain issued commands that were not executed. So they become pending reptilian brain commands, okay? This has a huge impact on a person. And this event can be traumatic events, okay? Can be violence, can be shouted out by parents, can be beating by parents, you name it. And we want to escape, we want to yell, we want to say, stop this. But every time we do this, actually gets stronger. And guess what? This person will have a lot of pending reptilian brain commands because they want to protect themselves against something or somebody. Okay. So in our clinic, we do pending reptilian brain command release. Okay, this is a very, very important work in our clinic. Yes. For example, you want to hit me, please do. But you got to connect to my heart through loving kindness. That's the key, okay? So in the clinic, this is something we do very, very frequently. Okay? And the way we do this is, okay, so the initial work is this, okay? Probably need to spend a week. I have a purpose, meaning even the beating, the abuse, or whatever that happened to us has a purpose. Okay? It's not something that we hate, we resent, it's pure injustice. No, there's a purpose for that because I feel pain. And through pain, I seek. Through pain, I start to understand through pain, I want to learn. I want to resolve this. This is painful, right? So the way we release this is for a person to connect. For example, I have a purpose, and then I connect to loving kindness. Then through loving kindness, I connect, for example, my dad used to beat me. I connect to my dad's heart of gold. Instead of I continue to connect to my dad equals beating. Right? Words and behavior. We all love our dad. Okay? We all have parents. We all want unconditional love. Okay? That's a primal, it's something that we cannot erase. Right? But because of our experience, we have triggers against our parents. We want to push them away. We want to escape. We want to resist. We want to forgive them or forget about them. Right? So we have conflicting sort of desire and protection all at the same time. We all want intimacy, but at the same time, it's like, no, I've been hurt by, thinking unconditional love actually exists. Okay? So in the clinic, we when the person is okay with this functional diagram, we'll practice for at least a week to connect from the heart, right? I have a purpose, meaning every experience that I ever have has a purpose. Okay, there's not like, I want this, but I really don't want that. Okay? What we don't want actually continue to happen to us. That's life. Okay? Because life just want to teach us something. Right? So the thing we don't want just continue to happen over and over again. Right? Until we truly see, like, oh wow, it is for this, then we actually treat it with a sense of gratitude. That's when the so-called bad things end. Otherwise, it seems like we're a magnet for things to, similar things just continue, endlessly happen to us. Right? And to me, people like that are really being taken care of by the universe. It's like, you gotta learn. Please do. Please, please, please do. Okay? Stop helping people. Because otherwise you continue to accumulate injustice.
I will scream if you don't holler.
Oh, we don't know people. Yes.
I'm learning.
Okay? Everybody is helping another person. Okay? And we create so many issues. Okay?
Yes.
Anyway, so if a person is ready, right, and willing to try, again, do not trust me. Okay? All these are for your first-hand experience. Right? I have a purpose. I connect to loving kindness. And through loving kindness, I connect to the person that, kind of get me to issue these reptilian brain commands. Okay. If we can do that, we stop connecting to that person's words and behaviors. Okay. Then we're laying on the table, right? Normally, when a person connects, for example, I connect to my dad who used to beat me. Okay? And I connect to his heart of gold. And I say, okay, can I start to resist my dad? Can I start to act out the things I want to do? Can I raise my hand to say, stop? Okay? A lot of times, which is very, very interesting, when I connect to my dad, I can't even move any part of my body. I cannot move my pinky. I can't move anything. Okay? So part of the instruction or the setup is to say, okay, move your pinky just a little bit. Just move a little your pinky fingers. Okay? Blink your eyes or whatever. Okay? Get something to start moving. Okay? Eventually that starts to catch up. Okay? We start to go into these motions. Okay? And then, and a person starts to, basically jump on the table, right? Kicking and screaming and stop, something. All these are suppressed, present in that person for however many years. And all these things will come out, okay? They will be executed. All these pending reptilian brain commands will be executed. And this person will be clear of these things. And at the end, this person will actually feel like, oh my gosh, it's so quiet inside. So quiet. Because all this person's life, these reptilian brain commands keep like, okay, do this, do this, do this. And you have to control it. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Yell at whom? Right? And then at the end, when this person quiets down and everything else, again, I have a purpose. Connect to loving kindness. Connect to the person that caused all my, the initial reptilian brain command. And say, and have this feeling, okay, that we had an encounter. And that's essentially what it is. We had a karma, or however you want to put it. That there's something that in between us, and now it's resolved. Okay. We will actually have a sense of gratitude. Because of this, there's an idea called initiation. Okay? And the idea is trauma is actually an initiation done at the wrong place by the wrong person at the wrong time.
Okay, it's a mouthful in
Yeah,
there.
I'm like, oh boy.
But it's an initiation nonetheless. Okay? You see Aboriginal tribes, right? When their boys turn 14, right? And here's the full moon, right? Here's a axe, okay? You go and come back on the next full moon. That is an initiation. People coming all tattered and come back all hurt, scared, broken, everything, right? That's an initiation. And then they go through weeks, a month of celebration to bring this person back. Then this person becomes a valuable, member of the entire tribe. So that is initiation. I mean, this is part of human. Okay. Nowadays we don't know how to handle trauma because we isolate all these things. We don't see a person as an entire person. We say, okay, your wound is fine now. Okay, your heart rate is good now. You're good. Okay, you're not good. You still have pending reptilian brain commands. Okay, I have this lady. She was molested and abused by her stepdad, while her mom and brother was in another room, multiple times. Okay, so she has all these pending reptilian brain commands, right? And when we do this, and she was able to go through this, and the last word before she was totally calmed down was, "Stop touching me," in such a voice that all my clinic is, probably quarter of the size, but I do have windows. All the windows were vibrating. And that's what she wanted to do. Okay? But when she came to see me, her voice was like, "Hey, John, my name is this and this." It's like, okay. Huge suppression of voice.
Yeah.
This is control. When she loses control, she does this, right?
Yeah.
So pending reptilian brain commands is part of trauma. Okay? It can be physical, it can be verbal, it can be anything in between. Okay? What the reptilian brain commands were, the reptilian brain command, in order to save us from that situation, continue to issue these commands. We just need to get them out. Okay?
Can I ask a question?
Please.
In the example of the Aboriginal initiation, the initiates experience trauma when they go up to the mountains. But am I to understand that they don't suppress the fear and the anger because it's just them in the elements?
That's right.
And then does the community come back when they're welcoming them back? Are they welcoming them back from the level of the midbrain so that they can have clarity about what they went through?
Right.
Okay.
And truly face how they feel.
Mhm.
Right? They, we'll go into this emotion, right? So they actually honor all the emotions.
Oh, they're honoring.
Right.
all their
They're not saying, oh, you're not supposed to be fearful.
Mhm.
No, you're supposed to be fearful. Okay? I mean, right? When the jaguars are are coming, you better be fearful.
Yeah.
Right?
We have a whole different problem.
Right? Yeah, exactly, right? So emotions are there. Emotion, or E stands for enable.
Mhm.
Enable our emotions.
Mhm.
If we don't have emotion, we're not saving ourselves.
Mhm.
Okay? If we don't have fear, it's very, very problematic. Okay? People who don't have fear, it's like they are fearless. They don't last very long. Right? So our boundary is constantly being protected by two things, right? Anger and fear. When we're driving, right? I'm going down the street, I'm maintaining my lane, I'm maintaining my boundary, right? And the next car comes into my boundary, I automatically does this. And then I realize, this idiot almost hit me, right? Then we go into angry mode, right? And we continue, we go into rage, right? So the initial this is actually enabled by what? By anger. When we are driving, we're always driving with fear and anger. Fear keeps us alert.
Yes.
Okay? If you have no fear, right? Fear is alertness. Okay? Fear, anger and fear are spectrum. Okay? It can go from being alert, right, to panic attack. It's all fear. Anger is the same, right? From this little irritation, like a buzzing fly, okay? Oh, okay, it's coming again, right? Or a nagging mom, right? To rage, right? So anger and fear are always protected. You cannot turn them off. If we live near a train track, at night, the train comes, the guest is like, what's going on here, right? We're sound asleep because we were so used to that sound, right? But if there's anything like this, we wake up because our anger and fear are always monitoring our environment, even when we're asleep, right? So honor all our emotions, especially anger and fear, so critical. Okay, so all this emotional intelligence, in my opinion, is just the worst thing in the world. Okay, because they separate our emotions into positive and negative, right? Unfortunately, anger and fear are bundled into the negative side, right? So we start to suppress our anger and fear. Then our boundary is actually really poor. Okay, well now boundary is not very good. It's like I have a castle, but here's a giant hole. Okay? So I have two strategies to protect myself. One is, you want to come in? Oh, just come in. Take whatever you want. Okay? And just leave my castle. Right? So these are the people that basically are like, okay, just do whatever you want. Okay? They suppress themselves very, very greatly. There's another type of people that basically just stand on top of their broken castle, throw stones, or boil water and just continue to do this. Okay? So these are the angry or aggressive people, but deep down it's the same issue. Their boundary is not very good. Okay? And it boils down to what? It boils down to anger and fear are not in the proper range. When they're not in the proper range, it's out of balance. Right? When I was an intern in Chinese medicine school, I asked the front desk, it's like, okay, can you please give me all the angry people? Because Honestly, angry people are very easy to work with. Okay? Because, okay, the people who are nice are actually very, very difficult to work with.
Right.
Because the first thing we want to, the first thing we need to do is to restore our proper boundary. Okay? To get a person that has chronically suppressing their anger because when they express their anger, because when they want to protect their boundary, they get abused more or beaten more or punished more or whatever, right? They have no anger. It's almost like you can do whatever to them and they will never ever show anger because it's not allowed. That's what a trauma does. It suppresses anger to no end. Okay? So for people like that come into the clinic, the first thing we do is to say, I honor my anger. Okay? I honor my anger. Ideally, they go into the car and start shouting, I honor my anger. Until they truly feel, and it's like they literally scare themselves, like, my heart rate is so high, I really feel my anger now. Now I feel I'm out of control because they're so not used to anger. And they start to feel that sense of power. Okay? Anger is the base for courage. Okay? You see a person that's tremendously courageous, there's a lot of anger in there. Okay? Right? Honorable anger. Honorable anger protects everybody. Okay? It's the angry people. Anger plus judgment destroy things. That's the angry. Angry is not anger. Okay? Anger is the base. Anger is like salt and pepper. Okay? You use it right, it's the best dishes. Okay? Right? If you use it wrong, man, oh gosh, I'd rather starve to death. Right? It's the same thing. Okay? We need to honor our anger in the society. Because when we don't have a good boundary as people, right, we just have to listen. We have to follow. We're not free. Okay, so that's the reptilian brain. Okay, so if we go, so the brain system is actually interesting, right? Reptilian brain is like the reptile brain, right? It's the most primitive brain, right? Instead of this most primitive brain start to grow bigger and more complex, right? The brain development is very, very interesting. It's like, okay, here's the reptilian brain, and it's basically the same brain as a reptile. So we have, part of us is just like a reptile. And then we have limbic brain, like a helmet. And then we have frontal cortex, which I divide into midbrain and left and right brain, and that's another helmet. Right? So if we continue to evolve, we get more and more helmet. Right? I really like this model. It's very, very interesting. It's really fun, right? I mean, it's...
If I had this big curtain, I was like, well, maybe I'm getting a new brain. I don't know. I'm way off.
Yeah. Yeah. So the limbic brain, based on triggers, generate emotions. Okay? And triggers are installed when there is a major event that's either painful or something that's significant. Okay? Or grandpa was pushing me on the swing and I feel so good. Okay, installs a trigger. Okay? Or I fell and it feels so bad, right? Or I said something and dad was this or mom was that. Okay, all these can install triggers. Okay? Or this is my first love and it hurts so bad. Okay, install a trigger. Okay? Or I trust the person and I was abandoned. That can hurt tremendously bad. Right? And what it would do is actually, so this is essentially trauma. Okay, so what trauma, the real impact of trauma is to install triggers. Okay? And triggers are protective because they want to protect us from ever experience that ever again. Okay? And it's persistent, meaning they don't get out of it. It's not like the milk we bought, it's going to taste really funny in a week or two. They do not expire. Okay. So people from World War II, when they hear the heater come on, they still think the bomber is here. Okay, because the triggers are still there. Okay. And they are global, so it means if my dad did something to me that I have this trigger, any body that sort of represent my dad will trigger this trigger. Okay? Anybody who's a male, in authority position, right, can either give me ice cream or pay my salary. Has a strong voice, right? About 5'11", anything. So based on that, I generate emotion. Emotion is just to enable motion. Okay? Enable motion. So when we separate emotions into positive and negatives, we're not honoring our emotions, because all emotions are true. They are true based on all these triggers, which are based on each and every one of us unique experiences. Okay? When we say, I don't want these emotions, I don't want to feel this way, we're honestly dishonoring ourselves. We're not loving ourselves. We're trying to suppress ourselves hugely. Okay? Because emotions carry a lot of messages. It carries our internal state. Okay? Let me give you another example. Okay? So I talked to a guy. He said he had phobias. Okay? He couldn't get into an elevator. He couldn't get on the airplane. Right? And he had a great psychotherapist. Okay? And the the therapist basically taught him, it's like, okay, what you do is you prepare your worst case bag, okay? And you carry this worst case scenario bag into the elevator and into the airplane. Also, he's like, wow, that's great. Right? So he was able to travel around the world with his kids, because he has this worst case bag, okay? But he's still very anxious, right? So, yeah.
He's got baggage, literal baggage.
A little bag, yes.
Wait, you mean he really got a bag?
He really has a bag. Worst case bag.
I didn't get rid of his bag.
Okay.
I don't know that was an excellent psychotherapist.
Yeah. But this kind of, see, this is control, right? This is say, okay, you have this problem, and you apply this Band-Aid.
Keep control.
At least you can do these things, right? So I said, well, that is really good, right? But if you truly honor your anxiety, if you truly honor your anxiety, because the anxiety is trying to tell you something, okay? Any place that you go, there has no exit, and you have no control, right? It's a problem, right? So I asked him, it's like, okay, have you ever had experience where you are being confined and you are helpless or hopelessly helpless? Right? And he rolled his eyes and go like, oh my God, yes. I had the exact same feeling when I was little and my older brother wrapped me in a blanket and I couldn't get out. That kicks off his entire life. That's his focus. Anything represent a confinement that he has absolutely no control is to be avoided at all costs. So that's his phobia. The phobia is a protection from inside to say, do not get into any environment where you can be confined and you have no control. Right? Don't we all have something like that? Right? So the way to get to it is not to shut down the emotions, it's to say, okay, I'm not going to be anxious. The way to really truly get into, to understand, to feel, and to honor, and to love ourselves, right, is truly to honor all our emotions. So trauma gets us to say, no, I don't want to think about it. No, do not mention my dad. Okay? Because every time my dad is mentioned, it triggers all these things and generates all these emotions, right? and I want to shut them all down, right? But I couldn't. But I couldn't really do that, right? So people go into addictions, go into whatever, right? So addiction to me is a way to medicate oneself. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Okay? I do not see addiction as a problem. I see addiction as a way to resolve this internal conflict that I just couldn't get out. Right? To resolve this spinning, right? To just can I have 1 minute of peace and quiet? Right?
So in order to resolve the addiction, just like the guy who resolved his phobia, you have to go back to, you have to remember the trauma that caused, that inspired him to.
If we can, right? Or at least know the attribute of this trigger. Okay, you are avoiding a helplessly or hopelessly helpless confinement situation, right? But the same trigger actually got this guy to be so valued as if he works for Secret Service, he will be the best Secret Service. Okay?
Yeah.
Because he will go into any environment. He will automatically say, okay, how do I get out of this? What danger can come in? Where can it come in? Okay? Where do I sit? That's that's the safest, right? And my entire family is going to follow me, and then you guys are going to be here. I'm going to, he planned it all out, all the time. Right? He will go into an environment, for example, like here, he will take one swing of his head and he maps out everything, right? Because you were in danger before. See, your brain will automatically do all these things because you have that experience. And people like that actually never feel safe. Right? So how do we resolve that? First of all is honor all our emotions. Truly love ourselves. Okay? Because when we are like judging us, we are actually literally stabbing ourselves to, I don't want to feel this way ever again. But it's true. It's something that's really, really, really true from ourselves, within ourselves. Okay? And everything has a purpose. I have a purpose. If I'm experiencing this, there's a purpose for that for me. Okay? If I can resolve that, I want to serve people just like me. Because that was suffering. Okay? So the protective trigger doesn't understand suffering. It's trying to protect us, but we're actually suffering all the time. Okay? But a lot of the setup is to preserve our life. As long as we are breathing, it's done its job. Okay? These are protections. Okay? It's like the White House is being bombed, right? And all these protections, gets the president down to 18 floors down or something like that in a bunker, right? And we just keep him there. You're not coming out. Right? These are protections. If all the communications are cut off, 50 years later, they're still in that bunker. Okay? So that honestly, that's how it feels. It's like this thing, happened years and years ago. I'm still in the bunker. I'm still don't trust anybody. I still have trouble, having a really, really good relationship that's based on trust. So there are ways to resolve this, okay? That's the only reason why we talk about this, okay? Yeah. Okay? Then it goes into our midbrain. Midbrain doesn't have all these past. Midbrain is our heart, okay? Our heart is just the current time, right now, okay? Midbrain has, doesn't have a history, okay? We can be hurt over and over and over and over and over again. Our heart is going like, when are we going to love? Okay? Can we love now?
Yes.
Okay? That's all the heart cares about. That's why heart is always golden. You cannot hurt our heart. So midbrain based on heart or connect to heart generate clarity. Okay, clarity is something that that pops up. It's like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. Okay? Like I came to Chicago. Okay. She said, can you come? Yes. Okay. Why? Don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So clarity is just something that we don't know, right? It's not supported by reasons or excuses or tons of facts or pros and cons. Okay? Clarity is just something that we're going to do. Okay? And it's based on what? It's based on our heart, based on what's happening right now. Okay? And it's always empowering. It's not about right or wrong. Okay? So midbrain does things that's most empowering now. Okay? So and midbrain is in charge of our hope, our curiosity, our creativity, our autoimmune system, our auto function. It generates oxytocin, which get us to feel love and trust. Honestly, all the things we would love to have is in the midbrain. Okay? And midbrain is supported by two, since we're Chinese medicine doctors, right? Nobody is. Wow.
There's two of us, but we're not here like that.
But we don't need to. But we don't need to know Chinese medicine to resonate with it. So we have two channels, what we call Du channel and Ren channel. Okay. That comes from basically the perineum, which is in between here, right? The Ren channel runs in the front. Okay. From here through our heart, essentially, okay, into our mouth, and then circulates. We are essentially a tube. Okay? So this thing runs in the front of the tube, gets into the mouth, in the center of the tube, and just continues to circulate. This is what we call the Ren channel. Okay? We have another channel what we call the Du channel that basically comes from the same place, goes in between our spine and our skin, okay? Enters, like the base of our head, energize our midbrain. Okay, imagine from this point to our third eye, there's kind of a bridge. Okay, this energy actually comes up, enters this bridge, energize our entire midbrain, come out of here, and continue to circulate into our mouth and circulate that. Okay, but when it comes out, if I say I connect to loving kindness, I'm literally connecting myself to the universal energy. Okay? And anybody can do this anytime. Okay? When we say, what's the most empowering thing I can do right now? We activate our midbrain because we say empowering. Our left and right brain only knows right or wrong. It does not understand empowering. What's the most empowering thing? We don't know. Because we're not at that time yet. We're not in that situation yet. So we don't know. Okay. So in the clinic, when somebody comes in, what are we going to do today? Am I supposed to know? Right?
Exactly.
And if you meet a practitioner like that, you're meeting the right practitioner. Okay? The practitioner is going to resolve things based on your condition at that time. And not just the physical condition. We're going to do what's most empowering at that time. And prior to that time, don't know. If the person comes back again and says, hey, last time it worked really well, can you repeat that? No. Okay? Because you have changed and I have changed. Okay? So this is very important, okay? When we have this two channels, if I say I have a purpose and I connect to loving kindness, I'm automatically straighter. You can't help it. You cannot say, you know what? I have a purpose and I connect to loving kindness and I try to squish myself. It does not work, okay? Because the energy automatically will straighten you up. Because these two channels, okay? These two beautiful channels. Okay? And then it goes, in my opinion, goes to the left and right brain. Okay? Left and right brain based on our prior knowledge. Okay? So it can be education, it can be training, it can be culture, it can be anything, right? Generate judgment. Okay? Judgment in terms of right and wrong, proper, good or bad, or a lot of things. If I'm driving and I get cut off, right? Automatically, based on my anger, I make sure my boundary is not hit, and I restore my boundary. That's what happens, okay? So if I'm almost hit, my reptilian brain generates this command without me knowing it. This is all in the subconscious. Okay? It says, do this, and then come back, right? And then it travels to my left and right brain, which takes anywhere from 0.2 seconds to 0.8 seconds. Okay? So by the time this thing knows, it will say, you almost hit me, right? Then it becomes conscious. I was almost hit by this idiot. Right? So then when I make a judgment, right? Then I start to try to teach this person a lesson. Okay? Okay? And that's a nice term.
Yeah.
The other term is called road rage.
Road rage.
The road rage is really, I need to teach this thing a lesson. Okay? Right? It's a judgment. But if it's based on our heart, right? What's the most important thing we can do at that time? Exactly. Right? Because I have a place to go. Okay?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Is the dual and the Ren channel, is the combination of the two, what I've heard termed the microcosmic orbit?
No. Okay. So in the microcosmic orbit, okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's a Qigong practice. Okay. So they have micro and they have macro, like the big circle or the small circle. Okay. In my opinion, that's just a practice. Okay, so the circle actually runs from the back, through the top, and down the front, right? That's just a practice, and I would actually recommend nobody practice that, okay? because it makes you depressed.
Oh.
It depresses you.
Okay, I'm not crazy. Because when we did Qigong in school, I would get so nauseous and loopy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a thing that I need to be doing.
Yeah.
To sit on the floor after that. People said you were gonna get all this, and I was like, why did I sit on the floor?
Yeah, that was.
So honestly, Qigong, in my opinion, okay, has such it's such a mythical idea, right? It being practiced with a lot of ill effects. Qigong is, look, okay, let's say if we are a group, and we're going to spend the next 30 years in this mountain, that's what we're going to do. Okay, it's a practice. It's a practice to say, okay, I can actually reverse my channel to go the other way.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can move my channel this way and that way, however I like. It's a practice, right? But we only know the surface, and honestly, I've treated Qigong teachers, okay, medical Qigong teachers in the school, and it's messed up, okay?
What?
So depressed, so delusional. I mean, honestly, it's not funny. Because when you force your energy to go the other way,
Yes.
okay, you can, if I force my Ren channel, which is supposed to come up, to go the other way or not come up here, this is depression,
Yes.
okay? You go into the clinic and people have depression, it's right here. this channel does not come up. And if you force it down, you really want to end your life. It's almost like that. Okay? So that's why, okay, that's why in my clinic, okay, people want to, have these hope, it's like extremely depressed or anxious, right? The key is I have a purpose. This one thought, our channels are hugely affected by how we think. I have a purpose, this automatically comes up. Okay?
I know that.
Yeah,
Just to
yeah.
say- Just to say, you know I sometimes have to.
Yeah. So this is so important, okay? And this is part of the trauma, this is part of the societal training, okay? When we start kindergarten and we're given crayons, okay? And we're like drawing, right? And we're midway through, it's time to read. It's like, what the, right? And then we have to suppress this channel right here. Because otherwise you're gonna express this, no, I'm not finished yet, right? No, do not force me to go read. No, right? But we learn to say, that's not a good behavior, so I need to push this down. Okay, I'm not blaming the school system as a faulty system. I'm just saying we learn by example, by the environment, that we need to suppress what we need to suppress our sense of thriving. Okay? To thrive is to have all these channels running properly. Right? Yeah. So Qigong, isn't that interesting? Right? And we think Qigong is so good, right? Not necessary. Okay.
See, I feel like I just wasn't doing it right.
No. You're doing, actually you are doing it right. That's why you feel that's why you don't feel well. Okay? Because even the instructor doesn't understand the natural flow of a system. So honestly, if I am, which I don't want to, but if I am teaching this, at the very end, we're going to restore all the channels to its proper state. I would not say, okay, do these microcosm or whatever system, right? And at the end, just see you, come back next week, and you go home. It's like I don't feel well, right? I don't want to eat. I have problems. I have an issue with drinking water. Honestly, I'm not kidding you. When this thing is forced down, okay, there's a lot of ill effects. A lot of.
I have so many questions, but I'm gonna let you talk.
Yeah. Then
You go.
then we open it up. Okay, you try to attack me from all angles. If it makes sense. Okay. So it goes through, in my opinion. Okay, so I spent like 7 years trying to have a functional diagram of everybody. Okay, just so I can understand myself. Okay. And when I understand myself, and this functional diagram applied to everybody, then I understand everybody else. That's what I want to do. Okay? I want to understand things from a very, very fundamental level. What does trauma do? Okay? Most of us hear from here, judgment. I'm not interested in this. Because to me, when we have judgment that we don't want or we want to modify, this is all about control, right? Manage, escape, forgive, forget. To me, that doesn't work. It does not, because I want to. So what I found was this is the key for trauma. These are the key for trauma. Pending reptilian brain commands, right? And these triggers that will last and last and last and last. That's why trauma continue in our heart, in our minds, continue to get us to suffer. So somebody has trauma or traumatic event at 6-year-old, right? Because of all these pending reptilian brain commands, because of all these triggers, right? This person can be 66 or 96. It's still living there. So this is what we talked about initially. How long is now? Is it 1 second? 100 years? you know, a billion lifetimes. As long as this is not resolved, we're still within that trauma now period of time. And as long as we're in the now, we have power to change it.
Connecting to love and kindness kind of avoids our idea of time, so that almost
Yes. So you actually, when we lose that sense of time, it's like, oh, that was so many years ago. No, we're still there.
It's still living, right?
I have this guy, he's 50 something. When he was 9, his mom abandoned him, okay? And he has a huge addiction issues, okay? So when he comes in, he's like, oh, we've done everything, right? AAs and Al-Anon and retreats and confinement and that, right? And I told him, and his wife was there, I said, your addiction is not a problem. Your addiction is a solution, okay? Because you have issues you never attempt to resolve, and you refuse to resolve because it was so painful. Okay, so many people have a west wing, like in the Beauty and the Beast. Inside, right? They shove everything in, right, and then close it down, and nobody gets there, especially that person. So they spend their entire life, spend so much energy to make sure that door is never approached. Okay? In modern terms, it's called anxiety. Okay? It's something that we just need to shut it down all the time, because even if we approach it or crack it open a little bit, I lose all control. So we try so hard to block these out, so hard. But these hold all the keys, okay, for us to reach, in my opinion, okay, true enlightenment. Because what we want to do is not to heal what we perceive to be broken, or to prevent from feeling the sense of brokenness. Okay? The goal is to reveal that our heart is always golden. So we are focusing on the broken things that's not really broken. But if we use the same energy, or even a fraction of that energy, to say, you know what, I'm going to try it. Okay? Today to 7 days from now, I'm going to assume my heart is golden. Okay? I'm going to try it. I believe my heart is broken all these years. Okay? 40 years, 60 years, 90 years. But just for the 7 days, let me try it. What do I have to lose? Right? For the 7 days. Yes.
For 7 days?
Because I want to try it. Okay? To me, a lot of times because of trauma, we don't even give us a chance to try it. Say, no way I'm going to try it.
Oh, try to understand it.
Or just try it. Just, do the stupid things to say, okay, I have a purpose. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to connect to loving kindness, and through loving kindness, I'm going to connect. I really don't believe this, but I'm going to connect to my dad's heart of gold. Okay? I'm going to exercise my choice to say, Dad, you know what? I'm going to love you unconditional. Okay? Why? Because it's my choice.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I always thought it should be coming from you to love me unconditionally. But you know what? From today to at least I'll try for 7 days. If it doesn't work, I'm going to throw this on the ground. I'm going to call this guy called John. I'm going to say, you're just full of, right? And I'll be very grateful. Because at least you tried. Okay? So let's say, because here's the thing, okay, so here's the functional model. Okay? So all these things, judgment, clarity, emotion, reptilian brain commands, instantaneously affect our channels, instantaneously. Okay? So in school we learn, okay, you know, your liver channel is most vibrant in spring, okay, and certain channels are best in summer and fall and winter and channels don't work that way. Okay, you cannot say, here's a dog that's gonna chase me, and say, hey, can we do this until spring, where I can truly run? No, you gotta, right? Channels respond immediately. See how, honestly, there are so many things in Chinese medicine that were taught that were just garbage. Just pure garbage. Okay? And I rewrite Chinese.
Okay, so now I'm realizing that when you said that the liver channel is the most vibrant channel and the strongest channel, and that's because I'm realizing that I was taught that anger is the quote-unquote negative emotion of the liver.
See, that's not true.
But if anger is related to the liver and anger is our flowers, so to speak, our expression of ourselves, then it makes sense that it would be one of the most vibrant channels.
That's right.
Okay.
Because it really puts a hand out.
Yeah.
Right? Or this is my world. Okay? Or I'm standing here and this is my voice. Right? That's all liver. Right? So in Chinese, when we say anger, okay, this is very hard to explain, okay, to any culture. Okay? Anger doesn't mean angry. Angry is the energy that hurts people. It hurts our stuff. Okay? Anger, if a person's boundary is really, really good, right, and another person is impacting the boundary, right, you will actually find the most empowering ways to resolve that conflict by respecting both boundaries. Anger tries to destroy the other person's boundary in order to protect mine. And guess what? That person is going to rebuild the boundary and attack mine. Okay? That's why you cannot resolve, violence with violence, because it will continue.
Right.
No end.
Right.
Right? You see the world history, and that's basically what happened. You just like, okay, now I have no control, but when I do, guess what? Right? I actually have one client. This guy's about this tall, and it's like very, very strong. Okay? And he had PTSD. Okay? He was anyway, he had PTSD. And we're treating him, and I scan his energy, right? And it's like, what's going on here? He seems to have a void right here, It's like there's nothing going on here, right? And it's like, hey, do you know what's up here? And this is what he told me. Okay? He said, I was a warrior king. Okay, I killed so many people to protect my his own kingdom. Okay, and he was captured, right? And the honorable way to kill a king is to insert the spear right here to his heart. And he said when that was done to him, he realized all the years, all the people he has, all the fights he was in, he was never ever maintaining peace. He said at that moment he realized the true peace is for every kingdom, every tribe, right, to be prosperous. That's the only way. So in this lifetime, which is very, very interesting, he is this guy. He's this guy that don't want the violence, but when he's triggered, he can actually literally tear down an entire house, just with his bare hands almost. Right? So what he does, he wanders in the woods, okay, collects mushrooms, writing poems, okay, just so he doesn't have to judge but he still have all these triggers
From another life.
from another life that he knows that he's trying so hard to control, like, you know, do not anger me, do not agitate me, do not, please don't do this. You know, he will actually beg you not to stop, you know, irritating. Right? So the work we do, that was 6 or 7 years ago. I did not have this diagram. I honestly, this diagram is a result of a lot of the things I encountered that I did not fully understand. When this diagram showed up, you know, just one morning with such clarity and triggers in here, then I understand so much more. You know, if I get to see this guy ever again, I actually shot his wedding because, you know, I worked with him. His PTSD was so much better, and he actually got married and I actually shot his wedding. But I think he was divorced as well because his trigger was still there. He was in better peace, but the innate trigger was still there. But anyway, trigger is the key. Okay? Because it's in the subconscious, right? It goes lifetime after life, in my opinion. Okay? If we believe in life, but at least this lifetime for sure. Okay? Yes.
I have another question, and that is, I tried to do the homework. Well, I tried to do one of the suggestions that you suggested this morning. I got up and, you know, I was washing my face and I looked in the mirror and I got the I have a purpose thing. You know, I got in the stance, you know, make sure the bucket wasn't tipping over, you know, my knees. I was carrying weight at the back of my knees. And I didn't feel like I was connected to loving kindness. And I was like, what if, I know what loving kindness is up here, but like in action, what's loving kindness? I just was having trouble connecting to it.
Beautiful. Okay. So, loving kindness connect from your heart. Okay. Let's do this right now. Let's try it. Okay. So I'm in my body. Okay. A lot of times we have trouble connecting to loving kindness. It's because we're dissociated. Okay. When we're dissociated, we don't have that connection. We just feel like, oh, this is my head talking.
Yeah.
Right? And then it doesn't involve any part of my being. Okay? So it's very important, first of all, we feel our sit bones. Okay? Make sure both sit bones, let's wiggle a little bit, okay? So both sit bones, right? And just situate it, feel both sit bones. Okay? Within both sit bones, that's our perineum. Okay? Elevate it ever so slightly. Okay? That's our Ren 1 essentially. Okay? So elevate it ever so slightly. Okay? Feel like I honor myself. Okay? I want to get back into my body. Okay? I'm safe. Okay? So we elevate our perineum ever so slightly, right? Our Ren 1. Right? From our heart, I have a purpose. If I'm so dissociated right now, I feel so broken right now, I feel so painful right now, I'm so in suffering right now, I have such righteousness and I hate everything. There's a purpose for that. We may never know what that purpose is, but there's a purpose. Okay? I have a purpose. And from my third eye, I connect to loving kindness. Okay. If we're highly dissociated, we're going to ask, what is loving kindness? Okay? It's just a thought. And that's it. How do you feel now?
I feel calm.
Yeah. And very likely, in your brain, you're going to feel this sense of tingling. Yeah. Your spine is going to feel tingling. Okay. There's a lot of things happening when you're doing this. as long as we don't think and we don't expect, we don't think what's the right way to do it. Okay, John said this, John said that, John said this, John said that. Forget about it. Because that's when we get into the sense that, am I doing the right? Okay? So most likely you have a trigger to say, am I doing this correctly? Am I doing right? So it's in the doing, it's not in the doing it correctly or not. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Right? So to me, this is a journey of self-love. Right? To say, okay, I'm doing this, but I can't do this. And I know why, because I try so hard to do it right. Then I'm not doing it, right? This is self-love. And you actually smile rather than, oh, I just can't get it. You know, let me find the sharpest thing around and poke myself, okay? Interesting, right? That's all we got. So in the beginning, it's like driving a car. We don't feel comfortable. Right? We're still one step at a time, one step at a time. It feels very mechanical. That's the necessary process. Fully embrace that. Right? It's like, I really look like an idiot, but I love it. So there's a concept of ready versus prepare. Okay? When we prepare, we want to get things right. Right? We want to get things as perfectly as possible. When we're ready, it's just a sense, I just need to be there. Okay? You know, I may be providing something, I may inspire somebody, or I'm there just to make a complete fool out of myself. And I'm all ready for it. Right? So then we can embrace. So the people who want to be prepare, what's really happening is we cannot accept that we don't know. Okay. So many times we get punished is because, like, don't you know? You know, as it's like I don't know is actually not. It's not acceptable from a trigger standpoint. How can you not know? Right? We go to school, we learn to know, right? And that, honestly, that's a lot of times that's how we get in trouble. You know, you see practitioners, they need to know. And it creates so much anxiety. Yeah. You know, my happiest moments in the clinic is, you know, the patient would tell me, it's like, I have SIBO. And I say, what is SIBO? And they look at me, it's like, you don't know? Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. But anyway, it's just something, right? So SIBO, and I look at her, it's like, you know, what's SIBO? And then she look at me, and it's like, seriously? You're highly recommended by by this physician or this acupuncturist, and you don't know what SIBO is? I said, I have no idea. That's the first time I ever heard this. It's called small intestine bacterial overgrowth. Okay? So when she mentioned that term, you know what I said? And she's a psychotherapist for like 25 years. Okay? And what I said was, are you in high fight and flight? And she went, yes, I am.
Wow.
I said, there's your answer. I don't need to know what you have.
Yeah.
If you're in high fight and flight, you're not supposed to eat. It's not supposed to digest, absorb, or eliminate. Because you're running for your life.
Yeah.
You're hiding from everything. See? So we don't need to know. But if I know, oh, thank you, Google. Do I really know? I know nothing. I will have absolutely no, you know, I will not be able to work with her, period. My normal sessions, actually at that time, was 90 minutes. I actually said, after 15 minutes, I say, okay, it's time for you to go. Okay? And all you do is, if you are willing to do this, okay, connect to what we just did, because she's highly dissociated. Okay? She was actually addict from like 18 to 26 or something like that. Okay? Then she actually became a psychotherapist, psychologist. Okay? Isn't that interesting? Right?
Yeah.
But all her life she resent, she it's like escape and just want nothing, absolutely nothing with her parents. Okay? So all I did was like, okay, you're in high fight or flight, and she's like, bing, right? Well, so you need to switch that, right? And the way you do it is not through control, right? The way you do it is through connecting what we just did, right? Elevate your runway a little bit, right? I have a purpose, connect to loving kindness, connect to her parents' heart of gold, and just go, Mom, I love you unconditionally. Dad, I love you unconditionally. And so you go home and you do this for a week, then we can talk, then we can work together. Okay? And chances are, if you do this, you don't need to see me. If you don't do this, you absolutely don't want to see me either. Okay? Because I'm not going to needle you. And I'm not going to give you any herbs. Because there's no needle big enough to say, you're gonna feel differently. There's no such needle in the world. Right? So the key is to reveal the heart of gold. Right? The key is to reveal the heart of gold, okay? And how do we do this, right? So we do this with, so that's the functional model. Okay? And I do this with 4 guiding principles. Okay? One is there's loving kindness. However you want to term this, okay? And then there's heart of gold. Three is purpose. And 4th is choice. Okay? Choice brings everything together. Choice needs anger. Okay? Needs courage. And this reveals our boundary. Choice brings everything together. Okay? Jesus on the cross. Okay? What choice does this guy have?
To surrender.
Yeah, he surrendered and he loved all his disciples, all the Roman soldiers unconditionally. Right? He goes all the way into his heart. What's the most empowering thing to do right now? So I honestly, I'm not religious, but I follow Jesus Christ. I follow Buddha. Because they make choices. Right? That's most empowering at that time. And to me, that is unconditional love. Because when we are at a certain time, and we say, what's the most empowering thing to do? Honestly, time and time again, the answer is love unconditionally. So these 4 things, in my opinion, just, this is my guiding principle. Okay, so with the understanding of how I work internally, right, how my channel work internally, right, I can relate to other people. And the way I relate to other people is through these 4 guiding principles. So when I share this with you, right, I don't connect to you directly. I connect to you through loving kindness and to your heart of gold. That's how I do it.
And as a practitioner, is that, I understand that it's more powerful, like it's better medicine, but it's also protective.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's no sense of protection, but the protection comes automatically.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not taking, when I connect to you, our energies, our energy goes back and forth. Okay, there's no such thing as, because I have a license. So my energy goes one way into you. No, okay? Energy always goes both ways. This is how practitioners get in trouble. This is why people are wounded. This is why they're wounded healers, right? Because they use a method called sympathy. They are there to help. So honestly, help is to take the word help out of our lives. We can do exactly the same thing, but we're not helping. Okay? We're seeking opportunity to serve. It's completely different. We'll be doing exactly the same thing, doing everything 100% for ourselves. Okay? If we have patients and we're working on them, right? We're not helping them. We're creating an environment for them to respond. Okay? Don't take, otherwise we're taking that, when we say we're here to help, okay, first of all, we're not as honoring their boundary as we can, because we're here to help. You don't know what you're doing. I do. Right? We tend to cross boundaries very easily. Right? And we feel sorry for the other person. Boy, man, then we're wounded healers. Okay? People get wounded because they feel sorry for the other person. So there are concepts, okay, 3 concepts: sympathy, empathy, and compassion. Sympathy is help. Okay, judgment, right? You're not as this, or you're not that, right? Or I'm better, and so I'm here to help you. Okay, it sounds weird, but follow my logic a little. Okay, empathy is our ability to mirror, especially people who have gone through abuse or trauma or chaos. Right? Their ability to empathize is tremendous, because you need to. Okay, if my dad sometimes gives me ice cream, and sometimes would just beat me up. Okay? I need to have tremendous empathy skills. Okay, when I hear footsteps, I need to know this person's physical and emotional state. For my own survival. Okay? That is empathy. Okay? Empathy is to know, is to actually sense, right, the other person's physical and emotional state, or the environment, right? So it can become, in the terms of intuitions and seems like it's something magical, but it's not. Okay? It's just our ability to feel what's going on around us, from other person or from the environment or anything like that. Okay? So there's sympathy and there's empathy, right? So when we practice medicine, or when we are caring for our parents, okay, looking after our kids, and we use sympathy and empathy, we become wounded healer, because we're going to mirror another person's physical and emotional state, and we're going to feel either we're there to educate them, or to support them, to help them, to get them out of suffering or whatever. We become a candle in the wind. We carry everything that person is carrying. Okay. I made a vow to serve healers as well. Okay, so the people that inspired me initially were actually 2 wounded healers. I took this class. It was taught by 2 people, and they're both physically and emotionally wounded. Okay. At first I thought, man, that is so noble. Isn't that the most noble thing? You sacrifice your body and soul for the other person, for other people, for years and years, for 3 decades. Right? Isn't that the most noble thing? And I took that class for 2 weeks, and I said, man, this is cruel. Right? I want to do this. I want my kids to do this. I want everybody to do this. But if that's what's going to end up, right? That makes no sense. This is when I realized, okay, sympathy plus empathy gets you to be wounded healer. And I've seen, and since then, I've met so many people that goes like, okay, John, you know what? I want to save the world. Okay? And a month later, it's like, okay, I'm going to the mountain. I'm never going to come out ever again. Okay? And then 6 months later, they want to come out and save the world. Okay? Why? Because they have a need to serve. But we equate that to help, right? That's when we go from being a lighthouse to being a complete candle in the wind, right? And then we need to hide. So the key, in my opinion, is this, okay? I actually draw this in a diagram. Maybe I can turn this around, huh? I'll do this next time. common ground. Okay? This is empathy. We're just mirroring each other. Okay? And to me, this is what I do. Okay? I don't connect people using this route anymore. I connect to people using that route. So I connect to loving kindness, and I connect to another person's heart goal. So in my clinic, when I work with people, that's what I do. So, I actually live with my mom. My mom is 91, and she's not mobile. And everything I do everything. My daughter is doing that right now. I'm not helping her. Okay. Several years ago, when I was sharing this, and the mom was like, with the 4-month-old baby, it's like, okay, John, what you mean is I'm not helping when I change diapers, right? I said, yeah, you do this 100% for yourself. So are you crazy? Right? I said, try it for a week, right? 3 days she called me and said, you know what? I don't hate my husband anymore. Because every time she changes the diaper, she actually found out subconsciously she was actually resenting so vigorously her husband. It's like, why is this my job? And when you have time and you come and play with this kid, in the act of changing diapers, right? So to me, help. Okay, so this concept of because we have a choice, right? So these 4 guiding principles, one of them is choice, right? If we decide to do it for ourselves, 100%. Okay? Do everything 100% for ourselves. Then we do not build time bombs. Okay? Every time we help, we're building time bombs. Okay? When people say, "Can you just stop helping me?" Right? Boom, 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 and everything blows up. Right? So how can you say that? I do everything for you. Okay, the break, isn't that? We hear that over and over again in families, in any situation. Right? The mom, the mom will say, "I do everything for this family." The dad goes, "I do everything for this family," and they both keep a list of everything they do. Yeah. And when they argue, that's when they do. And the kids sit there and it's like, is it about me or about you guys? Okay, you guys keep arguing. I'm going there. Okay, just do whatever you do. Right? So helping doesn't work. Helping just creates this list of things to support, like, I've done all these things for this place. And I've seen this in non-profit organizations. Okay? People are there to help. Right? Church, temples, nobody's happy. Okay? Because they're all helping. And when there's a whole bunch of people helping, you have different opinions of who is really there to help, right? And who helps it better. And then it becomes the environment for further judgment. And that's exactly what we don't want. Okay. So as practitioners, that becomes very, very important. Okay, if we're moms and dads and brothers and sisters, if we have any relationship whatsoever with anybody else, right, and we are helping, give that a try. Okay, again, don't trust me. Okay? Connect to our patients, or our family members, or anybody we care about, or our enemy, even, right, in a different way, and see how that works. To me, that's how trauma is resolved. Okay. So, I actually have this concept. Okay, my worst enemy actually has the most karma with me. And I really don't want this to continue. So the best way for me to do that is actually to truly be in peace with that person. If I continue to hate that person and say, you are my worst enemy, we're going to continue this for quite a while. Because we have such karma. Okay, I'm done. Question?
I know that you are chilly, that's why I said.
She put all the stuff on, and then I was like, I don't need these leggings. I need those leggings. I need socks. I have a little list in my head. I'm trying to decide which ones I want to do. Where am I starting?
Give me the hard one first.
So I think going back to the first chart in the list of how we perceive the outside world and how we take in stimuli, where does spirituality fit in?
Okay.
Yeah.
We have no issue with spirituality. I'm really grateful you asked this question. Okay, all the spiritual development, enhancing your spirituality, elevating your spirituality, to me, makes no sense. We are spiritual beings, and we have no issue. Nobody has issues spiritually. Okay? Our heart is always golden. We can connect to loving kindness anytime we want. Right? There's nothing blocking us from doing this other than all these triggers and all these beliefs and all these resistance, or the sense of being not safe or not unsafe that's preventing us from revealing our true nature, which is our spirituality. There's no issue with our spirituality. Right? So that's my opinion. Okay, I've seen this over and over again. People say, okay, we need to be more spiritual. You cannot be any more spiritual. Okay? That doesn't work. Meditation doesn't give you more spiritual. Okay? You do good deeds doesn't improve your spirituality by one bit. Spiritual, by definition, is boundless.
Well, because meditation is the education for the heart.
No.
I mean, for the mind, so that you can.
Right. So we think we need to.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. To me, this is backwards. Okay. We think we need to calm our mind in order to get to our heart. No, our heart just needs to come out. That's it.
Okay. And then when we talk about the physical body, this kind of ties in, and we talk about, you were mentioning the client who was a warrior in a past life. How do we inherit those things into a physical body from other lives and other bodies?
Yes. Right. So this goes into something that's sort of like belief system, right? So it can be right, it can be wrong. But this is how I believe. Right?
Okay.
So in Buddhism, right, we carry basically all our karma. So they use the word karma. To me, it's the same thing as trigger.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So we have all of them. They would say we carry 8 billion. 8 billion is just a number. That basically means infinite amount. Okay, we have 8 billion lifetimes. That just means we have infinite amount of lifetimes. So with all these lifetimes, we accumulate infinite amount of triggers. Right? And all these triggers can be triggered at some point when the time is right and the stimulus comes in. So then we got triggered. Right? So in Buddhism, there is such a concept. Like we carry all our past lives triggers, or they call karma, or seeds. Okay? And these seeds can grow and sprout, but to me, they're not just seeds. To me, these are landmines. Okay, you step on it, it blows up. Okay, but the thing is, it doesn't disappear. It continues. Okay, this is an indestructible, repeatable landmine. Okay, you step on it, right? But you step on it again, right? It can only grow in strength and not diminish.
Right. And are we this is where my brain goes. Are we inheriting the karma of the parents?
Yes.
Okay.
Through their belief system,
Okay.
through their fear, right? Through, right? So this go from one generation to the next. Okay, for example, the example I brought up, this guy, with addiction issues, right? He's extremely loyal. Extremely loyal. His dad is his hero. Okay? His dad married 4 times, abandoned him 4 times. Okay? But he said, I have no issue with my dad. Okay? I love my dad. My dad loves me unconditionally. I love my dad unconditionally. He just keep repeating that. Right? But he couldn't get close to his dad's grave. When I asked, what's your dad's name? He couldn't say it. But his dad is his hero. He keep mentioning, my dad is my hero. But he can't mention his name. Okay? So he had a huge conflict between his knowledge, his conscious view, his conscious belief of his dad versus the subconscious triggers of his dad. Isn't that interesting? His dad is his God. Okay? His dad got this from his dad. Right? So he builds this thing, it's like, okay, this is what we do. And somehow this loyalty and everything else gets into my client, right? So when he was suffering, he was crying. It's like, I don't want to, having these addictions. Can you get this demon out of my mind or out of my body, right? So I can love myself. And I said, there's your answer. Okay? You want to get what out of your body and you want to love yourself? You're conflicting yourself. You have no demon, first of all. You have all these protections. You have all these belief systems. You have all these pride and loyalty that prevent you from accepting reality. Like you said, surrender. Right? Surrender this is the reality. That's what surrender means. This is the reality, right? But we don't accept this reality. That's why we don't surrender. That's where most of the suffering comes out. So absolutely, trauma has from one generation to the next. Little kid has absolutely no idea what trauma is, or judgment is, or injustice is. But it can be taught. And guess what? They grow up feeling like they're traumatized. You never ever experience anything. And how can you have trauma? Because my parents have such injustice. Right? And when we have this sense of injustice, everything we see is unjust. If I told you, in Chicago, there's no red car. You go out and you see nothing but red cars. The things we want to avoid or attract always showed up over and over and over again. Okay, I'll tell you this funny story. Okay, my son was 5 and he just learned to ride his bicycle. Okay, went into the schoolyard that has weekends. All the tetherball poles were removed except one. And you see this one pole. Let's see, it's like in this big old room. There's one pen, like right here. Okay, there's nothing else. It's just an open floor. Okay. My son went in. I swear, if I blindfold him and say, your job today is to hit that pole, he will never ever hit that pole. You see this little kid, right, going there, to hit that pole. Because he tries so hard not to hit that pole. This is what trauma does to us. We try so hard to prevent us from ever experience that experience ever again. That get us to continue to suffer. We're hyper-vigilant. We're trying to say, okay, this thing can happen to us anytime, anywhere. I don't know when, I don't know where, but I need to be hyper-aware. Okay? So we constantly live in fear, actually, live in this hyper-vigilance. So absolutely. And channels can affect channels. Okay? If I say, right now, I put myself in an anxious state, all of you are going to feel anxious. Okay? If I depress my brain channel, you're not going to feel good. Okay? You know, girls living in the same dorm, right? Eventually, all their periods sync up, right? There's a reason for that. Okay, there's a reason why mom has breast cancer and the daughter's breast cancer rate are super high. Why? Because is it genetic? To me, it's epigenetic. Okay, you're living in the same environment. You're carrying the same attitude towards life and towards, you have the same attitude. You have the same view. And guess what? Your channel is going to run very, very similar. 50%. I actually want to talk about cancer as well. Breast cancer, 50% happens right here. And guess what? This is exactly where our liver channel couldn't pass through the chest because we're suppressing it, right? And it has to go past our chest into our lung channel, and it couldn't. So this is the least circulated area in the body for a lot of people. Right? So when the liver couldn't go through, the shoulder actually comes in. Right? Pretty soon, this area is like a swamp. It's not a river anymore. It is a swamp. Cancer requires two things. Okay. One is a mutated cell. The other one is the environment that will allow this mutated cell to proliferate. Okay. You take out any one, cancer doesn't happen. Okay. So when this area is a swamp and the mutation happens here, it's a favorable environment for the mutated cell. Right? Actually, just with this simple information, this is how I do cancer support groups. Okay, we have mutated cell all the time, everybody, all the time. Okay, they take tissues from breast reduction. They analyze it. There are plenty of mutated cells, but this person does not have cancer. Okay, so this is a known fact. Okay, this is not. I'm not making this up. Okay, this is a known fact among researchers. But of course, in the medical field, always lack a lot of years and years from true research. Yeah. So if we can add channels, right, this channel energy into the circulatory system, a lot of the things will easily explainable. Okay, why 50% of the breast cancer happen right here? Right? There's a reason for that. So if we can add channel qi circulation into blood circulation, lymph circulation, hormone circulation, or whatever circulation system, right? The medicine actually, without a lot of things, the true treatment will just come out. So when we say I have a purpose and I connect to loving kindness, honestly, we're getting the liver to go through. Okay, that's why we can breathe better. Thank you for that. That's actually a tremendous question, and I appreciate it. Okay, yeah, absolutely. This thing goes from one generation to the next. Okay, so let me. So what do we do then? Okay, let's say So this is what I told my client. Okay, this addiction dad. Right, he loved his family so much. His family is the most important part of his life, but his addiction is destroying all himself and all his. His entire family. Okay. So what do we do? Right. So I asked him, it's like, okay, can you imagine 30 years later, your son's gonna be here. It's gonna repeat the same thing. Would you like that? Right? Would you like that? And he will say, you know what? My dad is my hero. Okay. I'm not gonna say anything bad about him. Right? I'm not gonna throw him under the bus. But he has such internal conflict. He'll be crying, probably go through the same cycle of addiction because his dad is his hero, right? So what we do is to say, okay, your dad is a hero, fine. He had worse than behaviors, and he has a heart of gold. Which part do you connect to? Most of us bundle these together and say, my dad is my hero. Okay. So what we're doing is to say, okay, your hero maybe morally and ethically and behavioral and everything else is perfect or not. It doesn't matter because he is your dad. And your dad has a heart of gold. And you can love your dad unconditionally. Right? So to me that is very, very important. And when he does that, he breaks that chain of cycle. He breaks that one generation to the next, one generation to the next. Right? The moment he breaks that chain, he breaks that cycle, he actually frees. He actually frees himself. Right? So the big room is actually the cold room, huh?
Yeah, there's a tinier room.
Yeah.
But
No, that's the one.
well, I'm gonna put you.
Yeah, thank you. So when one person breaks that chain, that one person frees himself or herself from this endless, ceaseless chain of trauma, right? Not only does he free himself, he also frees his dad. Because his dad has all the regrets.
Yeah.
Right? If he continues this and he sees his son having the same thing, he's going to regret it, right?
Yeah.
So when one person along that entire chain breaks that chain, he frees everybody after him and everybody before him. 7 is just a number. 7 means infinite. Okay? So in a lot of these sayings, we use 3 or 7 or 9 or 8,000. It's all mean, in my opinion, okay, it all means infinite. Right? You see, we have this opportunity because of trauma to resolve generations of generations issues. Isn't that cool? So honestly, I don't see trauma as a problem. I don't see cancer as an issue. It's a pivot. It's an opportunity to transform, not just ourselves, right? But our entire lineage. And our entire lineage will affect other people. You see the impact. So honestly, one person's transformation, in my opinion, okay, this is actually in the Buddhist text, okay? One person is enlightened, is worthy the celebration of billions of Buddhas. Because if one person, right, can change from inside, that is unreal in terms of the impact of that one person. You cannot measure that. So we all have that opportunity. Okay? All of us have that opportunity. Thank you. That was thank you. Yes.
I have a question about the initiation.
Yes.
One about initiation and one about
Okay.
So regarding initiation, I thought it was really interesting that you brought up culture to what we call human rights, boys and girls who reach a certain age, and then at that point you are taking through a series of activities that help to foster you moving out of childhood and into adulthood. That is an initiation. However, I've born here in America. Many of us who are descendants of slaves have never had an opportunity to do those initiations. And so now my initiation was into priesthood.
Is what?
Priesthood.
Okay.
And I find it interesting because when you are in your initiation period, it's 3 years. But I don't think that's, when we graduate, I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
And I've been an initiated priest for 20 years now. And I feel like I'm just beginning to come into the understanding of what you are
not teaching.
No, nobody's teaching anything here.
Well, what are you sharing? Well, what you're sharing with us, the concepts you're sharing with us today, because I feel very strongly I'm moving into that direction, and I'm healing traumas, taking care of triggers from past life, my existing relationship with my mom,
Mm-hmm.
who was having dementia,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew as a child breaking the cycle. You got that? I don't have it. You have? I don't know. I'm not getting that. That's not my journey. Well, it's small child. But because I'm so different,
I got layers.
and empowered in that way as a small children, we became a mom. And so now I'm working to take care of those triggers so that I can move forward in creating space. Like I tell the leader all the time, I share with a patient, a person who came to me for help, and I said, you know, I'm not here to help you. What? And they were offended. I said, no, my responsibility is to create a safe space and hold a space so that you can heal yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just helps me to know that
Yeah.
hearing you, that I'm in the right understanding.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know how many times like people come in, right? So the word I use is, what can we do together?
What can we do?
Yeah. And they will look at me and say, no, I need some help. I said, you're in the wrong place. Okay? So at the first encounter, I absolutely make sure that we are working together, right? Because the goal is not to have repeat customers.
Exactly.
Okay? I'm not there to retain anybody,
Retain.
right? But to empower. That's the key, right? So, because when we empower, we don't have the pressure. Okay, we're not anxious. We're not trying to provide something. I'm not like, okay, you give me however much money, and here's your burger and fries. Okay, this is not an exchange. Okay, at the physical term, right? The sense of empowerment. To me, that's so. So then, this journey that we're taking is not a. It's a mutual journey, right? It's like when we have the opportunity to see somebody, right? To me, I take that as a pivot point for a person to transform, right? So there's nothing we need to. So to me, I have such gratitude towards all my triggers, all my pain, all my sufferings, all my depressions. Okay. So when I see a person who comes in and say, John, I want to kill myself, I'm actually smiling from the inside. I say, you reached that point. Beautiful. Are you? And I would say, yeah. So killing yourself is one of the options.
Yeah. And then they look at you like, well,
Yeah,
that's not the answer.
Right. That's not the answer that everybody's telling. Yeah,
Yes,
that's not the
yes.
answer everybody's telling me.
Yes.
But I would say that's one of the choices that you can make.
So I was, yesterday I spoke with my mom, and it threw me off, because I can feel her, and I know she can feel me. So I have been working to understand why I'm so congested in here. Why am I so congested in here? Between yesterday and today, I've just been navigating, trying not to fall, because I'm a little disoriented in my head. And I said, okay, some of this is heart, some of this is spirit. And how do I navigate it so that I function? Because right now I don't feel like I know how to navigate it. I have an awareness, but not a solution.
So when we are very congested around this area, okay, so from a channel standpoint, and this actually worked really well for me. So let's start from here. Okay? So potentially we are righteous. There are certain things we feel it's right and we are righteous about. Okay? We have very, very strong judgment of things. So we have blockage here. Okay? So when we're righteous, the channel that needs to come from a big toe, it's called spleen channel, energize all our muscles. Okay? Needs to go to the other side of our ribs, energize our heart, and then go down to our little finger. When this thing running properly, our heart is properly energized, we are kind. When we're righteous, we cannot be kind. So righteousness shuts down the heart. Okay? So it may go in cycle. This is the person we love, but at the same time we feel righteous about certain things of this person. So we have this conflict. Okay? And the heart channel continues to our small intestine, actually goes into around this area, actually goes through our sinus. Okay? Comes out of here, becomes what we call the bladder channel. The bladder channel actually needs to go down, all the way down to your heel and to your little toe. When this channel is not going down, when this channel is not going down, there's tremendous blockage, like right around this area. Okay? Disorientation, like it's hard to maintain balance. Right? You feel like you're very, very spacey, right? Like things are like you perceive, but it's not. Is this real, right? Can you really feel your body properly? Are you dissociated? All this is associated with this bladder channel unable to go all the way down.
And that's where they're having like I can feel it.
Yeah.
Here, down the back.
Beautiful.
So I feel exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can feel it.
So when the bladder channel is not going down properly, we have backups. It's like there's traffic, right? It's not going through, and it's just right on. The cars that keep coming, it's just got right here. Right? So if you have little pinkies, or you use a couple, I use Q-tip. Yeah, and I use Q-tips or something like that. You're gonna have a lot of pain around this area. Yeah. So this is your small intestine. Okay. Maybe here. Do you have eyebrow tattoos or something like that? Anything? Do you have any scars anywhere in your body? You have some, right? So all these can be physical blockages. Okay, that we need to take care of. Okay. So this is more than just your physical scar. You have, you're gonna have, reptilian brain command, pending reptilian brain command most likely. We need to resolve. Okay. And scars we need to needle. Okay.
So the scars are marks that actually have medicine in them that are like this.
What?
They have some purpose to them, but they also have some purpose for internal protection.
Okay. So a lot of the protection comes from scars or the jewelry that we're wearing.
Yeah.
Okay, rocks and stuff like that. Okay. Why? Because we don't want our channels to flow.
We don't.
When we are in certain situations, we don't want our channels to flow. Because it feels like we're not responding to other people's channels, emotionally or physically. We want to block ourselves from the influence of other people. Right? You shut yourself down, basically. Right? Just so I don't receive.
And you're saying we do that instinctually.
Oh, we do that instinctually.
Right, because yes, I do. I put some clothes on, right? Like I get dressed. Kim gets dressed and I go out in the world and it feels like I,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And people wear bangles or toe rings or they have tongue rings or something like that, right? They have a lot of these things for protection. I have people, wearing like a speedium or some kind of a rock, okay, a very, very dark rock. They say it's very, very grounded.
Like obsidian.
Yes, obsidian rock. Yeah. So they wear these rocks, right? Just they feel very, very grounded. But what the rock is actually doing is actually to impede channel flows. So they're not responding to stimulus as well.
So that makes sense because sometimes when I wear this ring in this hand, my muscles contract.
Yeah. It's very, very
And
interesting.
I was trying to figure out why.
Yeah.
I've never been there before.
So I had a lady, she was, she came for me for anger issue, okay? And she wears this bangles right here, like a silver thing right here, okay? I get her to take it off and she feels better. I get her to put it back on, she feels angry, just this, like she wanted to attack someone. Okay?
Silver is not sedating?
No, yeah. So it's very, very interesting, right? So it turns out she was actually, she had some sexual abuse when she was little, and her dad was actually okay with it. Okay. So her anger was there, actually there. She needs anger to protect her. Okay. So she automatically puts something here. Okay. So the channel, when our channel doesn't go down to the toes, we're actually in a different mode. Okay. For example, if I have a scar right here, okay, let's say I have a scar right here, okay, or I put a scar here, okay, I will be constantly in fight and flight. I will be a good fighter, actually.
Interesting. What about tattoos?
Tattoos, if you don't like it, it will have an impact. But if you're okay with it and you love it and you look in the mirror, that's a beautiful rose, it's fine, okay? But if you look over here, it's like somebody's name is like, what is that? And this channel doesn't work right
This channel would be-
because you don't like it.
Okay. What do you think about wedding rings? Like, we have this cultural tradition where people wear, I haven't been wearing my rings for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, just not for, right? Like I have on some like,
Yeah. So the key for wedding ring
Yeah.
is it needs to grow in size if we grow in size. Okay? You see people's wedding ring, it's like, oh, I've been wearing this for 30 years, never took it off. And it's almost like they dig into the bone,
yes.
right? It affects your pericardium channel.
Interesting. Yes. Okay.
So for certain people, okay, so for some people, wearing a necklace becomes a huge problem. Okay, wearing a bangle is a problem because it connects 6 channels in here. Channels are electrical in nature. They're microcurrents. Okay, so for certain people, again, if I connect to loving kindness, right, and I connect to other people's heart of gold, it doesn't matter what you have. You can have cancer, you can have scars all over the place. It doesn't matter. The channel, your thought of loving kindness, a sense of connection, is stronger than anything else in the world. I guarantee you. You have seen this over and over again. Terminally ill patient, okay, 2 hours from death, right? Same thing. Okay, when you have this connection to say, I connect to loving kindness, all the channels run beautifully. It doesn't matter. Okay, this is by design. Okay, at the point of death. Okay, if we continue to connect to loving kindness, this is all the energy actually will go into our spine. Well, here this term called Kundalini energy, right?
Yes.
Kundalini, right?
Yes.
Kundalini is all the energy go into the spine and come out into the universe. This is how the best way to pass. Rather than all scattered, all fearful, and it's like, I don't want to go, right? That's suffering. When a person connect, this is why this is important. Okay, so when we have a sense of purpose and I connect to loving kindness, our physical body is not a deterrence for doing this anymore. Right? So we can do this until we can do this during the very last breath. And at that time, our channels, we have this mode, I'll talk about it, okay? Our channels will actually naturally go into the do channel as and that's what the Kundalini energy is. It will actually go from here out of our body, and we go back to the home. This is when we go back home. This body is just a temporary, residence. Okay.
A dear friend of mine passed away 2 days ago, and when she officially passed at like 4, but around like 11:30 in the afternoon, I wasn't in the room, but I was sending and connecting, and I felt this almost orgasmic feeling rippling up through
Yes.
the back of my body, and then back, and then for me it went up, but then it dropped back down into my center and out through my toes.
Yeah.
And I was like, she had an ecstatic death,
Yeah.
which is what I would have wanted for her.
So we can go into that realm, but to me that's not important.
Yes, but
Yes.
thank you for the confirmation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Right. And that is critical. Okay. When at the point of our passing, if we continue to connect to loving kindness, and through that connect to all our loved ones, it has huge impact. Huge. Okay. That's why I take terminally ill patients, because I think there's so much to do. If I can have 3 minutes with a person, there's so much we can do. 3 minutes. Honestly. That can change tremendously. Right? And a lot of people hear this and they resonate and they say, oh my God, I should have done this with my parents, or I should have done this with somebody, right? Do this right now. Okay, unconditional love has no space and time limitation. Do this right now. Okay?
It's interesting you said do it right now. So I'm doing this right now with the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer with my mom. I tell you, that lady invites me in the spirit world like go tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, I need you to help me, to help us both, to break the cycle.
Yeah.
Because you're resistant.
Can I? Okay, so she mentioned 2 keywords. She mentioned you mentioned 2 keywords. Okay, the first keyword is forgive. The other one is help. These 2 all assume the other person did something wrong. Okay? These 2 words, in my opinion, okay, my brother is a pastor. And he said, oh, forgive. I said, no. If you have the concept of forgiveness, it means something is wrong. Right?
Yes.
That means you're above that person. Right?
No, I'm the one that did something.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because if we believe, okay, if everyone's heart is always golden, right? Trauma is something to be cherished. Because trauma gives us pain, and pain gives us the initiative to seek. And through seeking we find. Right? So everything has a purpose. Right? So the sense of forgiveness, to ask for somebody else's forgiveness or to forgive somebody else, right? In the context of this, right, has no power. So we can ask for somebody else's forgiveness, or we can say, can you please connect to loving kindness and connect to my heart of gold? Please. Please give it a try. I do not ask my kids to forgive me because they think I've done something wrong to them and they were hurt, they were traumatized. I do not apologize. I do not ask for forgiveness because I did that and it didn't work. Because I've done something wrong. They feel their heart is broken because of my action, even though whatever that means, right? So what I ask is, can you please connect to loving kindness, connect to my heart of gold. Do not forgive me. Do not try to forgive me. Because you will always retain this. But if you love me, if you connect to me, connect to my heart or goal, you're not connecting to my words and behavior that you think are breaking, that you believe will breaking you, right? And when you do that, you reveal your heart or goal. You reveal something that is golden rather than try to fix what is broken. Forgiveness is trying to fix what we perceive that is broken.
Word forgiveness too, forever, ever. And I've told the people about this recently because I was listening to some other recordings and spiritual stuff about forgiveness. And also, I've been in communication with you for some years, and I was like, what is the judgment in this? What I heard when people talk about forgiveness is what they were really talking about is being angry.
Yeah.
And so they were saying, all those times that I was saying I don't forgive, I was reaffirming my anger and my boundaries. But when I said, okay, let me see, what we were talking about this morning in the kitchen with regard to my family, my grandmother, and when I start to say, okay, so if I take this tact of like forgiveness, what they're really talking about is not being angry, but connecting to the heart code. That actually was beneficial because I saw my entitlement. Like, I was like, okay, what was I unforgiving? What was I so angry about? It's like, you've never known me. You've never seen me. It's the entitlement to be seen. But I'll tell you what is also difficult for somebody who is petty or your psychotherapist or all these other people is that there's nothing you're saying. There's nothing to be healed because everything as it is divine and perfect. Like it's exactly authentic and beautiful as it is. It's very hard for people to love themselves.
Yes.
Love the body, have love for the body. Then you're asking a lot. You're saying to reveal that we are all just golden and that's going to be rejected. I think that's going to be forever go back. Even in healing and forgiveness.
My language, even in your fuck upness.
Yeah.
To know that situation is divine and perfect as it is because it's here as an opportunity to. Here I go with my words because I was going to say correct itself, but if you say correct, then that means something is wrong.
Well, we know what you mean, right? Language can only express to a certain degree.
Yes. Oh, this is what I want to say about language. That forever, I would, many of the things that attracted me to listen to what you have to say, listen to resonance, is I would be so messed up if somebody started asking me about forgetting. I'd be like, you think I got time for forgetting? But really, it wasn't like, oh, because you're asking me to judge someone. It really was. You're asking me to let down my anger, and I can't because these people will eat me alive. You know what I'm saying? But finally, I was able to, and I was like, okay, I can experience this as this. This is probably what people are hoping for with forgiveness, maybe. It's that feeling of I relaxed my anger, I relaxed so much in myself. No, it's for myself.
Yes,
I was relaxed. I was like, okay,
for myself.
I'm relaxed. How come if she called right now, I'd be like, probably have to be off the phone in 3 minutes, but I won't be.
Yeah.
Forgiveness is not the end. It may be one of the path, right? But let's say I ask for forgiveness, and the person says, "Yeah, I forgive." Okay, and then I continue to repeat the same behavior or similar behaviors, and the person says, "Your forgiveness or your asking forgiveness, right, means absolutely nothing to me." Right? Because my triggers are still the same, right? My emotions are still the same, right? Just consciously I said, oh, I've done something wrong. Please forgive me. But have I truly changed from deep down? Have I truly transformed myself? No. So I'm going to repeat very similar behaviors. And the person is going to receive it and say, your apology means absolutely nothing. Nothing. So nothing at all, because you haven't changed. And this person's view is actually true. Okay? I don't know how many times I apologize, and I still, there's nothing is moving. It's actually deepened the sense of distrust, right? It's like the people with addiction, once they went through that binge period of time, right? They're crying, they were begging, everything is like, I'll never ever do this again. I'm so sorry. I know I was wrong, and right? And guess what? You're gonna repeat that. Same cycle. And the person that received all this is gonna say, I trust you once, I trust you twice, I trust you 3 times. I just don't have the energy to ever trust you again. I love you, but I cannot trust you anymore. Right? And the person just continue to apologize, to ask for forgiveness. Right? And to me, we need to break that cycle. Okay? I know the sense of forgiveness or the act of forgiveness or accepting apology seems like it's the right thing to do, but to me it doesn't really go into the subconscious. It's a conscious effort to try to make peace of what's happening and how can we move past this and move forward. But in my experience, for people who experience trauma, right, or to cause trauma, nothing changed. Wartime behaviors don't, honestly, at this level, at the conscious level account for at most 5% of our, brain activity, brain capacity. Right? There's very, very little impact on what's really happening. So as I go through this journey, because I'm really hoping to find, I was an engineer for 25 years, so I'm really, really keen on finding what exactly do I need to do to resolve my own issue. Right? Because I can continue to ask for forgiveness, but it seems to deepen my kids' sense of trauma, which is very, very interesting. Okay? And then they will continue to say, here you go again. Okay? You're doing this again, you're doing this again, you're doing this again. Okay? See, that I comes out. Right? I say, why? Right? So they're cues for them to continue to be triggered, even though they accept my apology. Right? So how do they go past their trigger? Right? And to me, honestly, I think that's a couple years ago, and I send them, each and every one of them, a picture, right, with words. And part of it, I don't remember the exact wording, but it's like, please connect to loving kindness, connect to my heart. And from this point on, love me unconditionally. And you be free of all my words and all my behaviors. Okay? Because if they try to forgive, it has nothing to do with this. They will still connect to my words and behavior. But if they connect to my heart, right? Because we all want to love, okay? We all have parents. We all want to love our parents, right? But we're all impacted by our parents to a certain degree, to varying degrees, right? So we all have triggers that prevent us from accepting fully our parents, which is very interesting, right? So we have these conflicting triggers, right? Which one do we follow? When we don't decide which one to follow, we are in conflict. Yes, right? But if we exercise our choice to say, you know what, I'm going to choose this. Okay, I receive conditional love or abuse, right, or whatever, right? You know what? I have a choice now. I'm going to love them unconditionally. This is my revenge. Right? This is what I'm going to do to you. And there's nothing you can do about it. Okay? Why? Because you are my parents. See, now we start to harmonize our inside. Okay? Because otherwise, everything else, in my opinion, is just a fix. A fix at the conscious level. Okay? My brother is a pastor. Okay? Actually, my brother and my sister-in-law, they're both pastors. Okay? And I had a discussion with them. I said, Jesus have no capacity to forgive. He has full capacities to love unconditionally, and when people do that, they don't forgive. There's no concept of forgiveness. There's no concept of forgiveness. They don't even have the concept of forgiveness. It's like, no, you are my blood and flesh and blood. Why am I going to forgive you? We are the same. How can you and I are no different? How can I forgive you? They don't even have the concept. When we, in my opinion, okay, again, this is not religious, okay? I'm just saying this is the person that I want to follow. I want to follow Jesus. I want to follow Buddha, right? Because they have full capacities to love unconditionally. When they do that, they see everybody is the same as them. There's no difference between me and you, right? That's in Buddhism. It's like there's no me, there's no you, right? When that is the case, where does even forgiveness fit in? You can't even put it in, right? Am I gonna forgive myself? It doesn't work anymore, right? So at that level, there's no concept of forgiveness. So to me, it's like in the search of spirituality, we put so much things that seems to make sense, but it's actually, in my opinion, okay, actually preventing us to truly reveal our heart of hope. And I'm really grateful for all these questions because you really go, I rarely talk this deeply about a lot of things, okay, but these are key concepts because it sounds really good, right? Can you imagine, like, you go to a place and the person is doing this, it's like, stop forgiving, stop helping anybody, do everything for yourself, 100%. No, you think you're in a crazy place, right?
No.
But when you truly see this, when you truly go down deep into it, right? That makes perfect sense.
100%. Yes.
Walking past, we had that whiteboard and it said 0, no sympathy zone. And I said, I had to double back. I
No,
said,
I'm
who
here.
is in this? Perfect. That's what perfect. That's fine.
So sometimes I get parents take kids to my clinic, right? Say, okay, my kid had this problem, can you fix it? I said, and I actually look at the child and say, do you want to be here? Then go. Because this is not going to work. I'm not going to be an accomplice for your control. Okay? Right? Come back when you want to come. I honestly do that. Okay? The parent go like, what? I said, that's part of the issue. Because we want to help this kid. The kid doesn't feel empowered. And when you don't feel empowered, you don't feel well. Okay?
Well, and it's sometimes, especially with children,
Yeah.
helping is like court mandated. Like you have to,
Yeah.
they must get help. Like there's not an option, right? Like, I'm a mandated reporter. Like if you're not helping your kid with certain kinds of things, I have to call people.
For safety, yes, right? But for like,
Yes.
okay, this person is lazy or depressed or
Yes.
or something, right? I got a mom and a kid and the son in the same room. Okay, the son is in college, like 20 something. Okay, and in every question, I think the mom complains something about the kid. It's like, oh, he doesn't make this good decisions, or he's not, whatever, expressing very well. Then I asked like 10 questions, right? His mom answered all of them.
Oh, gee.
Okay. And the last
You're
question.
saying, I thought you were talking about somebody this time. You're talking about somebody 22?
26.
26?
20 something. Right? Answer all the questions.
Did the child ever say, oh,
Yeah, the child just go there and like,
Close his eyes.
because it starts from a very young age. Okay, it doesn't matter how old this person is,
Yeah.
right? Like elephant, right? Like in India, how they control elephant, right? When the elephant is young, they put a a chain around it and chain it to something that really solid. So the elephant try to escape and right? When the elephant is old enough, all you gotta do is a thread. It's a piece of thread. That's it. Attached to nothing. They won't move unless they're drunk.
Unless they get drunk, and they do drink.
Yeah. When they get drunk, they run around, right?
They act like kids. They act like just like kids.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They start speaking.
Yeah.
They act like me is what he said. Okay, I'm gonna let that on like everybody else out.
So you see, like, so the thing that we receive is when we're young, stay with us, and we feel the same, no matter how strong we are, how powerful we are, just like the elephant, right? Because that's how we perceive it. Very, very powerful. I don't know if any of you go back to childhood playground. Okay, so I took my kids back to their playground. Okay, and they say, "This is it? this is it? Oh my God!" Right? And they try to fit it in, right? This is it? It felt like Disneyland to me, right? So that's how we see the world. So the antidote of a lot of the trauma or a lot of the suffering, to me, is not the opposite. Right? It's not control. It's not to right the wrongs that we receive. Right? It's just to reveal that we're still golden. So our issue in our minds are very complex because it seems very, very complex to us because we're trying to resolve it for years and years, decades and decades. We think it's got to be complicated. It's not complicated. So to me, it's just simple things that we do. Okay? How we connect is really key. So in my clinic, go back to that spirituality thing, right? My stance is nobody has spiritual issues, but we may have physical and emotional blockages. Okay. A more down-to-earth analogy is we flush the toilet and it's overflow all kinds of junk. There's no problem with the toilet. Somewhere along the piping, there's blockage. That's it. Okay. So to me, it's like when things flow right, everything is good. So when things don't flow right, nothing is right.
I may have missed this, but I feel like I can't formulate an excellent question about the liver.
About the what?
The liver.
Okay.
In all of this, did you all talk about the liver yesterday? Yeah, I don't know what my question is yet. There's something in what you're saying about processing, metabolizing emotion. Because I'm thinking about all the things that keep people from accessing loving kindness, right? That
Protection.
Yeah, the protections, the conditioning, like I work with a lot of, or in the past I worked with a lot of young men who, as boys were punched in the chest violently until they stopped crying, yeah.
Man up.
Yeah, man up, man. And that, what I see is, and I'm a psychotherapist, but when I look at people often who've been through those things, I'm looking at their eyes, I'm looking at their nails as they're talking to me, I'm looking at their tongue, and I'm like, what I'm seeing is some sort of liver and like we need to nourish your liver is kind of where I go in my mind with them. It's like I want to nourish and tonify their liver so that it is functioning more fully. And so because you can't get to these places where you can love yourself and then start to think about the inclusivity of others, because you can't metabolize anything else because you're always triggered, you're always in fight or flight. So I think that's what I'm
Yeah,
I'm
that's
trying to
beautifully
ask.
put. Okay?
Yeah.
Wonderfully put. So, to me, I don't tonify things very much, okay? Because what I see is actually blockage.
Okay.
So what we're seeing is from the tongue, from the eye, from the nails. It's not because the liver is not flowing, but it's because it's prevented from flowing properly. Okay, so you see this outburst of anger, high control, right? The sense of life is not safe, it's not fair, and all that kind of good stuff, right? So there's a constant control of liver. Because when liver qi goes through, we are thriving. So the goal is for us to thrive. Okay? So there's a constant control of liver, because when this guy is being punched, his work, right? The only way to prevent from further punching is to suppress everything. Okay? To say yes, 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 yes. Okay? To fully, not in the sense of surrender, but to accept. Okay? To suppress himself. So the way it works is actually through pericardium. Right here. Okay? So if you press the, in between your fourth and fifth ribs, okay, especially on the left hand side, tremendous amount of pain. Okay? And the reason is when the liver, this is the mechanism, here's the gate. Okay, here's the gate to say, boom, lock it. Okay, lock it right here. It's so common, it's not funny. Okay, and people experience this pain, they go, how can this be so painful? Okay? Because you've been blocking it for years and years. Okay, that's why people wear things here, is to prevent this from ever flowing properly. When pericardial channel is not flowing, liver channel is not going through. We create tremendous high resistance to say, liver, stop. Okay? So it seems like they have a liver issue, but it's not a liver issue. Okay? So in Chinese medicine, we see this as a liver access condition, because the liver channel, right, the mighty liver river flows from here, comes up here, needs to go through our chest, into our lung channel, so they can breathe. And that's what thriving means, is you can breathe. Okay? So the young man or the man that you're seeing that were punched when they're young, they're probably 75 right now or however old, they can't breathe.
They're in their 20s.
Okay, in the 20s, in whatever age, they don't breathe. When you talk to them, it's like, for 10, 15 minutes, like, you never breathe. You cannot perceive their breathing. Okay? Because in their life, they're hyper-vigilant all the time. They don't know when's the next punch is going to come in. So their triggers are set, right? So they're hyper-vigilant all the time. They don't ever feel safe, right? So this is the liver qi stagnation, blocked right here, right? But it's very, very uncomfortable. So when they lose control, their liver flows through, that becomes extreme anger. So they go between two states, right? So to me, it's actually a highly, highly important aspect of our society, where people who seems to be angry, but what they really, really are asking for is love. Okay? What they really, really want to feel is somebody who cares about them, right? So they can thrive, right? So in my clinic, right, and this, I'm so grateful I'm here. Okay, so this framework and this approach and this guiding principle is to say, yes, you experienced this, you had trauma. What are you going to do now? Okay? If there's something empowering for you to do now, would you do it? If you can take back your life, would you do it? Okay? You had no control when you were young. You have no choice when you were young. Do you have a choice now? Would you exercise that choice? Would you take that choice back? Okay? Would you be able to say, you know what, I have a purpose. Yes, I was beaten when I was a child, but I have a purpose. Okay? And there are many, many children in this world that were beaten by their dad. Okay? And I experienced that. Yes, I did. Okay? I can go down this way, or I can go some other direction. I have a choice. I have a purpose. I experienced this. Right? I'm going to connect to love and kindness. I'm going to connect to my dad's heart of gold. I'm not going to ask for him to apologize so I can forgive this guy. I'm not going to feel, I'm such a victim to ever have a dad like this. I'm not going to calculate and ask all these questions, why me, why me, why me? You know what? I'm going to make a choice to say, I have a dad, I connect to love and kindness, I connect to his heart of gold. And from this point on, I'm going to love my dad unconditionally. And that is what I'm going to do.
So if you're connecting to loving kindness, does that mean that you're connecting from your heart?
Yes. See? That's how we reveal we still have a heart of gold. Okay? People honestly, I have a patient, she was probably 75 or something like that. She was raped by her own dad. When I asked her to do this, okay, and her husband was by her side, almost like kneel down and say, honey, can you please give it a try? Okay. She looked at me like she was going to punch me in the face, right? And she was so angry. She said, how can you ask me to do this for this animal? Right? And I said, you're not doing this for anybody but you. Okay? You're doing this 100% for yourself. Your dad, he is dead for a long time. But you're still suffering. You're doing this for yourself. She actually stormed out of my clinic. She was so mad. Okay? And she had a lot of issues, okay? Knee issue, a lot of issues, okay? A lot of pain. She actually came back like 3 weeks later. Right? And she came in and looked at me and was like, I'm ready, John. I'm ready. And we got her on the table, right, and tried to connect to her dad. So in my clinic, it has a clock similar to that one. It has a second hand. Okay? So what we do is we do on the table, right, connect to the body. From here, I have a purpose. Connect to loving kindness. Connect to her dad, heart of gold. And for 60 seconds, she's going to say from her heart, through her throat, into her mouth, Dad, I love you unconditionally. Not from her brain. Okay? Because people are like that are driven by their left and right brain. They want to do the right thing. Okay? This path is not open. This path is always constantly stuck. They cannot speak from their heart. Very, very apparent. So for 60 seconds, right? So she had a lot of, that session was actually a long time, okay? So she had to take a lot of time. She had absolutely no issue connecting to loving kindness. She's a very, very kind woman. Extremely kind. Okay? But she has a lot of problem connecting to her dad's heart. A lot. Okay? So some people describe to me, it's like they are in Star Wars, okay? And they have the ship, right? All these space rocks just coming towards them, right? And they need to go there, but there's a lot of obstacles thrown their way. Behaviors and words. Protections prevent her from connecting to her dad's heart of gold. But she finally did it. And took her a lot of time to say the first word, Dad. Okay, a lot of trouble. Right? But she persevered and she said it, and she was crying, she was just bombing, right? Eventually that flows through, and she had utter peace. Absolute peace. Deep down, we all want to love our dad unconditionally. There's no doubt. It doesn't matter whom. Okay? This is where we came from. As long as we resent our parents, we'll never be ourselves. We're always under so-called the spell of our parents, always. Right? We think we escape far enough, right? We resist long enough, right? We forgive them long enough. We think it's all okay. No, we haven't done anything. We're just adding more control to ourselves, okay? Because of the simple diagram. This is how I honestly, I have myself as an issue. I have my family as, having these, right? I have my patients having these. This diagram comes out of this, honestly, I just yell at whatever, right? It's like, I need something. Okay? I need something to demonstrate, to illustrate, where the real issue is and where the real solution is. And this is what's key. Okay? Because we cannot resolve things at a conscious level. It's honestly, people have tried. Okay? Right? Haven't we all tried enough to resolve this consciously? Right? And we think, we got it done. And it's not at all. Okay? Very interesting, right? And all I say is, give it a try. Okay? It's complex in terms of what we need to do, but to me, it's two very simple things. We connect, right? And we feel. We need to establish two things. One is, where do we connect? How do we connect? And that's simple, right? I have a purpose, connect to loving kindness, connect to another person's heart of love. Boom, that's it. Right? If it's our parents, dad, mom, I love you unconditionally. If it's our sibling, we do the same thing. Okay? If it's our enemy, at least recognize this person has a heart of gold. So we are not attaching like monkeys to say, okay, let it go, let it go. It would never let go. Whatever it's holding, until you say, hey, reach for this, boom. That's what we want to do. Okay? And I think we want to reach is loving kindness. Because time and time again, all the enlightened people tells us that's the solution. And it will happen instantaneously. Okay? It's not because you're so hurt. Oh, you gotta go there and wait 3,000 years and then you'll be okay. No, you heal right away. Okay? That's what they all say. Okay? It's not me.
Not really sit on the mountaintop, but quit my job, quit the requirements of all the labels that, when I say my job, this is what I'm talking about, like all the requirements, and we all have many jobs that we didn't apply for. You know what I'm saying? When I hear these things, that's how I feel. I don't know what it has to offer to this, I just want to say.
So before you can do your job,
Yes.
per your truth,
Yes.
okay? Infiltrate other places.
I feel like an infiltrator. This is what I'm saying. Like when I
Yeah,
hear
we're undercover spies.
Yes, infiltrator, because I'm doing something differently than what's being projected on me.
Yeah.
And my struggle is like to not be back to the anger, back to how the path of least resistance, where my chi has been flowing for so long. I'll be like, what? Let me prove to you I'm not exactly what you. Instead, I can choose an opportunity to, like, despite what the expectation is, to just be myself. Not just to, but also like to be myself.
So the word I use is lighthouse.
Like my house.
Okay? You in any environment, be a lighthouse. There are storms, there are winds, right? I want to push you one way or another. Continue to be your lighthouse. Okay? And when we have the opportunity, right? For example, yesterday I have the opportunity to show you how to hold.
Yes.
Right? I'm infiltrating this environment because you be holding. And not only will you be holding, you'll be holding with the connection to another person's heart of gold. You'll be a lighthouse. Honestly, you'll be a dramatic lighthouse in this place, anywhere you are. Because you'll be connecting to people differently. You're not going to be connecting to people's behavior and words and symptoms and signs or their pain and suffering anymore. You connect to another person's heart of gold. You know how powerful that thing is? Honestly, people come to my clinic, okay, they tell me, John, I don't know who my dad is. My mom probably didn't know. Okay? There's so many men coming to my house, coming to their home when he was little. And verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. When he grew up, he does exactly the same thing to other people. Okay? He's an addict, and he said, do I have a chance? I said, you have a heart of gold. Okay? You have a heart of gold. You have a choice. Okay? And I'm not just saying this because that's what I say. I'm saying this because that's how I connect. Okay? This is going to take a little while, like you point out, right? It feels like, am I just faking it? Okay? I feel like I'm saying this, I'm doing this, but my body is not going along. This is a cultivation. Okay? And honestly, I want to bow to all of you, right? It's like, if you even try this, right? I'm so grateful because this is a cultivation. And when you cultivate, everything that's in the conscious level will get down to your subconscious level, okay? Then it becomes part of you. And when you take this cultivation without any more time, it's not like, okay, I'm going to meditate, take an hour, meditate. Don't do that. Immerse this in everything that we do. Let's say you're in this environment and there's a requirement on you, right? Focus on what you can provide underneath all these requirements. A very simple connection to your patients will change that person forever. You don't even need to say a word. You're not violating anything by connecting to another person's heart of gold, right? And when you do that, I cannot empower a person, but I can influence because of my own energy for that person to feel empowered, right? Because I'm connecting to that person's heart of gold. Honestly, people come to me and say, John, I want to kill myself. All I do is connect to that person's heart of gold, not to this person's suffering. Because if I do, I'm going to deepen that suffering, right? But when I connect to that person's heart of gold, right? Our conversation, I'm not sympathizing with this person, right? I'm not trying to help this person, right? All I have in mind is how do I empower myself? What's the most important thing we can do right now? Okay? And there's one guy that came from Colorado, a 15-year-old, brought in by his mom. We're actually doing martial art for the next 2 days. We're doing Tuina, right? We're doing all this, where the power comes from, our body alignment is, and He was going, oh my goodness, right? He's still alive. That's all I can say. Okay? 5 years later. Okay? And he changed his connection with his parents. Because his parents has a very, very violent divorce, and he was forced to choose. Okay? How can a child choose between mom or dad? And guess what? A lot of them end up choosing none of them. Doesn't want to have anything to do with any of them, right? And the result is the sense of isolation. Like I come from nowhere. Okay? And all of a sudden you don't have a sense of self. And the only choice you have is to end this thing. Right? So what I'm saying is, give this a try. So when we are doing the martial arts, say, okay, let's try this, okay? I connect to loving kindness. I have a purpose. Can you please do this when we're playing, right? You have a purpose. You connect to loving kindness, and through this, you connect to your dad's heart of gold. He said, what? I said, just do it. And then I start hitting. Okay. I start pushing him like this and this and this, right? So this is how we play. Okay. The play is to disrupt the other person's balance. Okay? We're not trying to hit at somebody, but we're trying to disrupt a balance, right? So I say, okay, you try this, do you feel more balanced? I say, yeah, I do. I do. Honestly, when the person feels we're connecting to loving kindness and connect to somebody else's heart of gold, we automatically, these two channels, okay, so this, go back to the channel. And I'm not just trying to say this as if, this hocus thing, okay? This affects our channels. When I say I have a purpose and I connect to loving kindness, my eyes are level. My body is different because my Ren channel and my Du channel are running properly. So when I do anything, I am super balanced. There's a reason for this. So there's a reason for us when we do train up, right? We maintain this bucket, we maintain this connection, then we are balanced, we're not tiring. Okay, we're not working on people like this anymore. Okay, there's a dramatic reason behind all this, right? This guiding principle automatically get our channels to run properly, or at least at their optimal state. Okay? If I just shift my eyes over there and say, oh, all your channels are changing. Okay? That's how fast channel changes. That's how fast even the detection of something, right, will change our channels. So we can all actively, cultivate ourselves without any more time. If we're cooking, if we're washing dishes, right, if we're changing somebody's diaper, connect differently, because then everything is a cultivation. I call this timeless cultivation because it doesn't take any more time. And because it doesn't take any more time, it truly becomes timeless. Timeless just means it stays with us. It becomes honestly, we want to make loving kindness connection to be our biggest trigger. Right? If we see anybody else, boom, loving kindness. Okay? And some of the question I got is like, okay, what if I love this person unconditionally and this person still doesn't love me unconditionally? I said, well, then no. I said, well, then that's a condition. Right? So it comes back to us. It's not like we don't care about other people. No, we care about other people dramatically, but we're not going to be effective. Right? We're not going to be a candle in the wind. It's like, okay, I do this. No, you're not doing that. You're not returning, right? Then we're not giving. Unconditional love is not physical. Okay, so it's inexhaustible.
May I ask, what's on the agenda for this afternoon?
I have no real agenda. Okay, it's just open space, open time. Okay, so
Wrote a lot of things.
I don't even know what my agenda is. Okay, do you have one? Then
That's what I was going to say.
One agenda is lunch, and then the second is, I'm just trying to figure out whether I should stay or not. I would like to, but I do have.
I would love for you to stay.
Yeah. I have a lot of obligations too, so I just was trying to weigh those out. You know.
So beautiful. Okay, so if you have obligation, responsibility, and everything else, you're going to make a choice, and you're going to go to your so-called obligation or responsibility 100% for yourself, because you're going to make a choice. Okay. Let's say you're the most responsible person in the world, right? And you feel like if I don't fulfill this responsibility, then I'm irresponsible, right? then you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing this just to be a responsible person. Right? Make that into your own choice and do this 100% for yourself. To me, this is so important. Okay? Too many people are nice and kind and everything else, right? And they actually feel such a real sense of injustice inside. Okay? Because they're always giving, they're always helping, they're always fulfilling their responsibility, right? Obligation. Take out all these labels. Anything that we do it for ourselves, 100%. And when we do that long enough, we actually don't see other people. I can honestly say I'm here 100% for myself. If there's nobody here, I'm just as happy. Right? And because of that, somehow there's unexpected results. Because I have no expectation. I'm not here to. That's why, there's no teaching here. Right? I'm sharing my first-hand experience. If this resonates with you, what does that mean? That means you have it already. Okay? You have it already. You said, that's exactly what I want to do. Right? You have that already, but we all have these constraints. Like, Khadija was saying that, we all have these constraints, so I feel like I cannot perform the way I want to perform. Right? But are these real, obstacles? Right? Can we sort of infiltrate?
It's so interesting that you said that. Constraints. I remember it jogged the memory that we were in class.
What class?
Uh,
In class.
In class, yes. When I was in school, the teacher was my mentor / friend / professor.
Oh, that's her? Oh, I see. Okay.
But I was in a different class, and I needed without measure. And the professor at that time said, "What did you just do?" I said, "Look at this. Did you ever do that in the class?" And I was like, so we measured. My partner. Now the rest of the class is like,
Yeah.
same class, accuracy. Intuitively, I realized, okay, this is classroom setting. I have to obey the rules, the constraints. However, intuitively, I know what this is supposed to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. See, intuition. Okay. A lot of people. The people who want to feel safe, okay, they need to follow the rules. Okay? They need to know the exact location based on how many chun, which direction, right, and stuff like that, right? What they don't fail to understand from a channel standpoint, channels are rivers. They are not lines. Okay? Points are just cities along the river. Okay? They seem to have a definite location, right? From a GPS standpoint, right? So our teachers are trying to GPS this, right? So then they fail to see the river completely. Because issues don't just happen in the cities. It's a river, okay? Blockage don't always happen at the same location, right? So many people can feel when they don't do GPS. Because they have intuition, they have their trauma, they have childhood abuse, so they know intuitively what to do. Okay? Because they have senses. So this is the gift of trauma, actually. The gift of trauma and abuse is actually extreme sense of empathy, which manifests into intuition.
Wow. Can I say it's like a sensitivity? Because sometimes intuition, again, feels like a lot to be piled up. Like the way that people use that, it feels invasive. I feel like as a human being, you would be surprising. This is surprising to you how sensitive we are. Keep by your eye. You can devise something, and you don't need these tools. We have these capabilities just from experiencing the world through generations, I feel like. So when people say that to me, they're like, I said, you know, what are you doing? Oh, I can't because I heard the word intuitive. Sometimes I take that as,
Is that an insult?
yeah. Yeah, like,
Who told you that?
who told you? Yeah, I will feel that way. I'm not saying that, you
No,
know.
I know you feel that way. Just really talk about it.
Or like they gone to Jewel to buy Jif, and they're like,
Yes, no,
here's my jar of Jif.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a sensitivity about people that, as a teacher, that I would want to, if I was a teacher in that context ever again, that I would definitely want to honor that you're sensitive, that you are sensitive. It doesn't need to be like,
I actually think, okay, I feel the word sensitive I won't be able to use because sensitivity to a lot of people is very, very specific to certain aspect.
negative.
Not negative, but certain aspect. For example, their body is very sensitive because they had trauma, right? So I have students in my class, the first, like within the first minute, it's like I don't allow any man to touch me. So they have that sensitivity because they experience certain things, right? So if I get close, like for example, I can get close to you, let's say 2 feet, and you don't feel comfortable. But that person, if I get it within 6 feet, very, very uncomfortable. Right? Just hear my voice is very, very uncomfortable. That to me is sensitivity because of this protection, heightened protection. Right? But intuition to me is is combining all the senses, given the situation. Sensitivity, in my opinion, okay, is a predetermined thing. To me, it's highly judgmental. It has a lot of bias to it, right? There's a man in the room, so this person becomes heightened sensitive because there's a condition, right? And the condition is actually based on some kind of a judgment prior, right? But intuition, for me, the way when I use the word intuition, it means what's happening now.
I guess I can accept that.
With all things considered, seen or unseen, feelable or unfeelable. Okay, every aspect considered, to me that's intuition. So in my class, if people don't measure, right, I will actually look at this person. You are trusting yourself, because otherwise they look at me and say, "Where do I do this?" I say, "Can you tell me?" Okay, because if you don't trust yourself now, when are you going to trust yourself? So to me, Chinese medicine school or any school in that general, right, is missing the point. Okay, you're not here to follow the rules. You're here to develop yourself, to find yourself, to truly trust yourself. Because that's the only way you can practice without liberty stagnation. Because otherwise you're gonna do this and you have all these people as if all these people are still behind you. Are you doing this right? That's liberty stagnation.
Why I wanted to have that, because listen to what I'm saying, like, I have no disagreement with you right now, except that I said sensitive, and it would be better to say this, and like this morning I was
It's
told
not
that
better
I
or
used
worse.
the word entitlement, but it would be better to say this because everybody has like 1,000 triggers. And I'm like, language and the way we use it did not help us.
You're not responsible for
The 1,000 triggers.
you are not responsible for the 1,000 triggers. It's the responsibility of the person who's triggered to be aware, honor it, and make sure.
Well,
You're not an unkind person. My perception, yeah, I know, well, I know you would.
so to me, I don't feel responsible for 1,000 triggers, but I feel gratitude to have 1,000 connections.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes.
And through that sense of 1,000 connections, I'm not connecting to the triggering events
Right.
because I triggered them,
Because you triggered them. You
Right.
connected to the heart.
but I connect to their heart of gold, and that's it, right? And then what they are responding back to me. Let me give you an example. Okay, this is honestly, this thing really honestly, this is for me. Okay? I'm here to share because it really worked for me. I mean, tremendously every day in my life. Okay, not just in the clinic, for myself. Okay? So I have the opportunity to care for my mom. She's non-mobile. This is the 5th year. Okay? About 3 months ago, my second daughter came, and she went to grandma. Within a minute, she stormed out, looked me in the eyes like, "Dad, grandma is not doing well. What are you doing to her? Okay? Are you starving her? She doesn't look well, right? She's in a lot of pain. Are you really taking care of her?" And she was basically just let all this out. Okay? So I look at her, and I actually smile and say, "Wow, that's from your perspective, it's all true. What you said is all true. What am I doing? Grandma doesn't look very good." Okay? And in fact, my mom hasn't been eating for the last 2 days because everything I presented to her returned back exactly the same. Okay? I said, "You're absolutely right." And her judgment, right? So I said, from your standpoint, it's absolutely true. But I continue to connect to her heart of gold. Okay? She actually, after she spilled that out, she actually stormed out of the door, started driving, and just took off. Okay? Because she was angry. She was angry at me. But she was caring for grandma, right? But based on her perception at that time, she made the conclusion that, I was the worst thing in the world for grandma, right? And to me, because I connect to her heart of gold, I'm not connecting to her words and behaviors. I'm not responding to her words and behaviors, right? But in my heart, it's like, what's the most important thing I can do? So I call her. And I say, I fully honor what you just said. Right? She was actually at that time, because she drove away, she's like, "Dad, I'm sorry I said all these things. Right? I know I wasn't here all the time, and I spent 1 minute with grandma, and Right? And I had this outburst, right, on you. Right? And I say, but what I'm so grateful you expressed that. And what you see is truth for you at that time. Okay? But if you're willing to take more time, to me, can I express to you what's the most important thing I think we can all do? Okay. So I actually said, the next time you come in, instead of feeling sorry for grandma's condition, spend more time with her. Okay? If you go in as a candle in the wind and grandma's condition is not good and you blow out your light, grandma actually doesn't feel very good because her condition makes you feel sad. Okay? And you're telling me this, it's not affecting me, but it's affecting you. Right? So I sort of explained this to her, and guess what? She comes back, right? Spend more time with grandma, right? And be a lighthouse in the presence of grandma. So to me, it's very, very interesting. Like, yes, we trigger other people, right? But we can use that because there's purpose for it. It's not like, oh, it's your responsibility, right? Then we miss that opportunity. Because if somebody's yelling at me, say, "John, you're just full of, whatever," right? I say, from your perspective, it's true. And I honor that. So in Chinese idiom, there's an idiom that says, a frog underneath the well. Okay? Imagine there's a well, and we're frog, and we're underneath. And we all see a patch of sky. For every frog, that patch of sky is real and it's true. For every frog. And to me, we're all just frog in our own well. We all are. We all are. Okay? We're sitting here, but we're actually moving at thousands of miles per hour right now. Not only that, we're also spinning at the same time. Right? So honestly, we are all frogs in the well. So when we can, and it's not how we judge other people, right? It's we honor people, right? Anybody's opinion or truth or fact and everything else or emotional outbursts, it's all true. All emotions are true. All behaviors, in my opinion, all words and behaviors are true per that person's internal state. And who can change this internal state? That person. So if my daughter said that to me and I go, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, guess what? Right? But if I fully use that opportunity, to me, we have the opportunity to transform a lot of things if we love, if we connect different. Right? I honestly, at this point, I connect very little to people's words and behavior. To the point where people explain like they're suffering, I was just like.
Okay, I'm like this, and sometimes I will say to I'll say to other clinicians, I'm like, it's a joke because I really don't feel this way about myself. I was like, I think I have a cold dead heart because people will say these things and I'm like.
So there are two things, right? We can either have a cold heart because of apathy. We heard this long enough. Everybody tell us basically it's all the same story over and over again, right? Or we can connect to this person's heart of gold and say, please tell me your trauma one last time. Okay, I don't know how many times, okay? And we can do the table, okay? When we finish all this talk, we can do some table work, okay? My daughter will come to me, or my patient, right? They will say, like my daughter, my youngest daughter, she's very fiery. Okay, so she has a lot of, Dad, I need to tell you this, and right? They say, hey, hang on again. Okay, take off your socks, right? And I go, look, and I will actually hold her feet. And I say, okay, now you can tell me. Or hold her hand, okay? And she will start telling me, and midway through, it's like, oh, it's gone. Okay, I'm done here. and she will leave, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing with my patients. Right? When we hold the right place, okay, remember in liver-chi stagnation, suppression, right, is from here, right? This channel goes from here to in between the fourth and fifth finger. Okay? So if we have an opportunity to hear other people's trauma, hold here, ever so gently, and just by this person's side. Okay? I don't know how many times people start telling me, and they're crying and right? And midway through, it's like, John, you know what? I can't tell you anymore. It's gone. The experience is there. All the trapped stuff is gone.
You said the channel ends right here between the fourth and fifth.
Okay, so the pericardial channel comes here, ends here, and connect to the other channel. When I say ends, I mean it's
it loops here.
Yeah. Honestly, we only have one
Like
channel.
Yeah, there's just one channel.
Right, just keep going, okay?
Yeah.
It's like,
Everything is.
it's like muscle. We only have one muscle.
I'm wondering, because sometimes I will say to people, you can't touch people in psychotherapy. But sometimes I'll say to people, I'm going to invite you to say what you got to say, but put your hand on my hand. Or I can put my hand
You're the smartest girl ever.
I'll just do that. I'm like,
see?
So touch my hand, and then they'll touch my hand and say, and keep going.
See, this is the person that works under a constraint and find an empowering way per her intuition, right? And do the most empowering thing.
I call her. I say, listen, this is what is required. This is how I'm feeling.
Yeah. So the key, okay, for people who are so gifted, right, in a lot of areas, is at the end of the day, how are we? Okay? We need to look into the mirror. How am I doing? Because we tend to be so focused on helping others, getting other people better and better and better, that when we look into our own lives, we can't feel very much. So it's so important. Okay, this thing is not for the clinic or for other people. It's truly for ourselves. Okay, when we start to cultivate this, we naturally do everything else. Okay, this is not we artificially do everything else, but ignore ourselves. When we look in the mirror, how are we? Becomes so important. Or how are you? To me, this is honestly. There are many people telling me, okay, I have a beautiful system to treat, right? And they will tell me, and then I say, how are you? How does this work for you when you have issues? And they go, oh my gosh, it doesn't work for me. So we're learning something to apply. So to me, this is the current state of medical system, Chinese medicine, Western medicine, is the same. Okay, we ignore ourselves. That's why you go into a health facility. It's like, am I in the wrong place? Nobody seems to be healthy here, and they're supposed to help me. Because we ignore how we are. Right? This is this is a self-reflection, right? When we look in the mirror, are we looking into our own eyes? Are we truly looking into our own souls? Or are we just here to help another person? This is something we truly, to me, this is my cultivation. This is how I can look into the mirror and say, I love myself, but I'm not quite there yet, but I'm truly happy with it. Okay? I don't need to be there, right? But I know I'm heading that direction, right? Then I can share my first-hand experience because this is true to me. I am this, little frog in this little well, and this is my sky. And it's been working for me really well, and I'm here to share this with you. Right? And then that's it, right? And because of that, I have no pressure. I have all the intention, but I don't need to expect. Because real change always comes from, not from anybody else. If we can somehow help and change other people, there's no problem in this world. Okay? Don't we all want to change our kids and everybody else, our parents? How does that work so far? Right? So all these changes, because of this model, all need to change from inside. Right? All need to invoke our own choice, which is the real power. Right? Real power doesn't come from other place, any other place. So if you feel like, there's a lot of talk and nothing ever gets done, you're absolutely right. And it seems like we are truly, there's nothing for us to grab onto. We're absolutely, that to me is, we're heading the right direction. We feel like, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a protocol we have to follow. Then this is not useful. Okay, please throw this away. Because things happen at the time. What's the most important thing we can do at that time? Keep that in mind. Okay? That to me is very, very interesting. I've asked myself many, many questions. And remember, we're always in the now. It's not like, okay, my daughter said that to me and I was very angry, right? I pushed her away, right? And she disappeared. Okay? And that happened 2 years ago. There's nothing I can, no, I'm still in that now. She is still in that now. Right? So there's always something we can do. So we can always ask that question, what's the most important thing I can do now? Can you believe it's 1 o'clock?
It's 1 o'clock. Really?
Is it the real? Is that a real clock?
Is that a real clock? Take a break for lunch.
We need to eat.
Yeah, let me take a break for lunch.
Yes, we need something to eat.
Is it really 1 o'clock?
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Everything come back.
Yeah, but that's usually, I'm like.
Okay, I brought my tuning forks. That's all I'm saying about the afternoon.
Oh, I didn't bring mine, but I will borrow yours.
I didn't bring mine. Just saying.
Cool.
I don't know anything.
Because I intuitively.
I mean,
Okay. Beautiful. So we'll.
okay.
Yeah. So this happened in my regular clinic too. Okay. It's like. Thanks, guys.